All right. Good morning. Grab your water, grab your beverage, lock in, girls. It's going to be a good one. Okay. So we're starting an hour early today because I'm awake. I'm ready. Let's go. You know, when you're a disabled girly, you got to go when your spoons are there. And my spoons are here and they might not be here in a few hours. So let's go ahead and do it. So funny. I woke up today feeling like I was being rushed or I was late. And then I ended up being early. So, the universe is on my side, I think. Today, we're going to revisit and sort of go over what we've done the last week. I kind of want to make a little bit of a claim today, or at least a statement, and then I want to explain the statement. But I also want to primarily, I think, use the language that is in this community because I've run into a problem, girls. The bubbles, the different bubbles, are coming into the content, but they don't get the vibe. They don't get what's happening here. And because they don't get it, I'm put in this really awkward position of either trying to talk to them in their bubble or trying to make them understand ours. So I'm just going to talk in my voice. I've done this in the past, and I think it was a mistake as a creator to try to talk to people in their bubble, because I do think then it looks like to my audience that I'm saying something I don't believe in or agree with. And so I don't want that to be the narrative. Like, I don't want to sound like a bad person in order to get a bad person to understand me. Does that make sense? And in the past, I used to think this was a really good way of communicating with people. And then I realized, like, oh shit, I'm going to alienate the people that I want to ultimately attract to my daily audience. Because the truth is, these people are not going to be a part of our daily audience. They're going to be people who come in temporarily and leave. So I'm just going to explain it in my language and we'll go from there. So I want to sort of make a claim today off of the criticism or input I got from Hassan fans this last week, that Hassan is engaging in sexism and misogyny, that he himself has not deconstructed enough, that he is a person who wants all of the fame and celebrity and status with none of the responsibility, that he continually basically pretends he's, quote, just a guy, okay? And I'm saying only in a white supremacist framework, only through patriarchy and capitalism, could this white man show up in the way that he is and have the fame and status that he does, and then turn around and go, I'm just a guy, okay? And this is the problem with, I think, what we've been facing for a very long time, is marginalized people have to basically never be given the same status, the same amount of fame or anything. And we could never rise to the same prevalence of Hassan and just turn around and say, I'm just a guy. Like, you're not just a guy, and we try. Like, I think a lot of marginalized people try. And I'll show you today, we kind of saw that with Kevin Hart sort of explaining away the racism in his special of like, well, that's just how it is. But we know that a lot of marginalized people have to cater to white supremacy in order to have any relevant, to be what's the word I'm looking for? To be relevant and to be in any way adjacent to their status. And I'm saying, because of ethical reasons, I could never rise to Hassan's status, because the amount of unethical behavior I would have to engage with to be as popular as Hassan would be against my values. And the fact that he is famous makes me look at him like, what did you do to get there? Right? So check this out. He was on Trevor Noah this morning. It got posted, girls. So don't tell me I'm dragging old Hassan clips out. This is current Hassan. And this is coming from a person who I do think is more progressive, more leftist. That's me. I'm that person. And I think Hassan is not deconstructed enough. He's not introspective enough. He has not done the work. Okay. And I think because he hasn't done the work, it actually helps him be more popular, because the world has not done the work. So of course they're comfortable around him. He's similar to them, right? So he's on Trevor Noah, who Trevor also, like, I think Trevor isn't progressive enough. I don't hate Trevor, of course, but I think he's like too centristy, at least in relation to my own politics, which, by the way, are subjective, my own philosophical frameworks, which are subjective, because I don't believe in objective morality, right? So if you're new here, we do philosophy through pop culture. I don't believe in objective morality. I think we're animals on a planet, and I think we're doing our best to have a deeper relationship with our biological experience in order to have a better outcome, harm reduction, and of course, being a little less bad every day. So check out this clip.
Yeah. But like, where do you situate yourself in it? Or do you even think you sit in one place? Because I'll tell you why I asked this question. I've learned from myself personally in life, depending on who I meet, they have a very different starting point as to where to position me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to know if you position yourself in one place or if you're just a human being navigating, like how do you position yourself?
I'm just a normal guy. So from my perspective, I just see myself as a regular dude who has a lot of strong opinions and isn't afraid to talk about those opinions. And I know that sounds almost like a political answer, but it's just true. I don't think of myself as like a famous person. I don't think of myself as like a dangerous radical, obviously. I just want what's best, what I think is best for society.
Huh.
And that's it.
But you are famous now.
I guess.
No, not you guess. Come on, Hassan.
I mean,
Come on, Hassan. Don't be humble here with us.
Hassan is number one on the call sheet and fighting it. No, just serve the other people first. I'll come
No,
last.
whether you like it or not, like because you have been thrust into a spotlight where people listen to what you're saying, people look to you. I would even argue that you have the ability to shift and move people's votes and opinions in the country now.
Apparently, don't talk about that too much though, because everybody gets mad at me when people start addressing that.
Wait, really?
Liberals get mad at me about that exact influence that they think I wield. I don't think I'm like a kingmaker per se, the way that it's been presented.
Yeah.
I do have some influence, certainly.
I just want you to point out, okay, I'm going to need to point it out to you. First of all, this is what I am saying. In what other universe could somebody reach this level of prominence and turn around and say, I'm just a guy, teehee? Not to mention that is what so many people say about Trump. He's just a guy. That's why I like him. He's not a politician. He's just a guy. This isn't humility. It's a lack of responsibility. He is escaping responsibility. He is not being humble. True humility is understanding your place and your responsibility to people. This isn't humility. This is him avoiding responsibility. That's what this is, right? And so painting it like, even when Trevor made the joke, like, oh, don't be humble with us. It's not even humility. It's not. Real humility is responsibility. Okay. So I want to frame this whole conversation away from patriarchy and I want to center it on children, right? So if children are watching Hassan, how are they supposed to understand this statement? Right? If young people are watching Hassan, how are they supposed to understand the responsibility of reaching prominence? Right? Here we are talking about Mr. Beast and IRL streamers and all these boys on the internet who go, like, kids are watching you. And then here's Hassan, you know, dressing up in his little suit and showing up on Trevor Noah, interviewing politicians, you know, talking to all these people. And he's just like, I'm just a guy. What message is that going to send to young people? Like, what message is that going to send to anybody? And also, what message is that send to the people who have been defending Hassan, who have been promoting Hassan, who have been hoping that, like, we could uplift somebody who could fight for us, right? What does that say to all those people, right? Now, I just want to point out, and this is what I want to point out, the misogyny of Hassan's audience coming at me and saying, Brittany, what have you done? Brittany, don't talk bad about Hassan. You're going to pull people away from the left. So you're saying Hassan has less influence than me, because Hassan himself is saying, I have no influence. I have nothing. I'm not a kingmaker. And I'm saying I can't have that amount of influence. Look at the power dynamic. I'm saying, if you want to give me the microphone, I'll change everything right now. But you guys decided to make Hassan popular. I'm here for it. I don't want his position either, by the way. But whoever is in that position, regardless if it's Hassan or somebody else, they have to be held responsible because they are the guy. Right? No one else is allowed to be in that position. If we recommend anybody else, all of a sudden we're like, shh, invite Hassan on. Hassan's the guy. But now the guy is saying, oh, I'm not going to fight for you, basically. He's saying like, And I'm saying, don't you hear him? Don't you hear the way he's throwing you under the bus? That's why Trevor goes, well, come on now.
And I think it's mostly within the activist space of the party.
Yeah.
The door knockers, the community organizers, the labor union organizers, rank and filers and whatnot.
Okay.
So we do have the capacity to offer a lot of help to candidates that align with us. And I think that's very frustrating for obviously the Republicans who think we're dangerous terrorists, but certainly even for some centrists in the Democratic Party as well. Because I've been getting attacked, obviously, my entire life and my entire career by Republicans, neo-Nazis, the far right, and everything else.
Yeah.
But I would say that in these last couple of years, I've also started getting a lot of ire from Democrats, moderate Democrats, corporate-backed Democrats, neoliberals in general, like
which is insane, since he's more than happy to endorse and or supply some sort of backing or support of billionaires running for governor, which is, again, we should be critical about who we vote for. I say this as someone who votes. Like, we should be critical. But people, even in my last video over on my Bert Simon channel, were like, Brittany, he never endorsed the billionaire. Guys, it doesn't take much to endorse a candidate. Here's an example of he posted this on his, okay, this is Hassan Piker, Hassanabi, one day ago. This is a clip about Tom Steyer. Here we go.
Trans athletes in high school. I think when you understand, I'm totally in favor of trans athletes in high school. I think when you understand the vulnerability, the stress, the danger of being a trans kid, and you understand that almost half of them try to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And then you think we're going to punish those kids, we're going to cut them.
Okay, so Tom Steyer is speaking in favor of trans children. This comment section, though, here's what I want you to pay attention to, right? So this comment says, I agree with him, but he's a billionaire, so I can't support. I could never support. Then this person said, bro, I hate billionaires too, but if it's not Steyer, it's Bexera. I don't know how to say their name. We already know they're an evil sellout. Steyer has the bet. At best could be progressive, and at the worst could end up just being like him. And Hassan liked it. This is endorsement. This is endorsement. It doesn't matter how you phrase it. This is endorsement. Now, Hassan has always said, to be fair to Hassan, because you know I'm a fair girly, he's always said he's a harm reduction voter. Fine. I think we've all done that at a certain time in our life. But being the largest microphone, like having the largest microphone, right? So when people say, Brittany, you're being unfair, he never endorsed Tom Steyer, that is an endorsement. That's what that is. Okay. And so again, you can play games with yourself about Hassan isn't doing this, Hassan isn't doing this, but he is doing this. And you need to make a decision about how you feel about it. Now, again, I am a philosophy channel. So the perspective I'm going to focus on is the vulnerable children who are forced into existence by adults who are too goddamn selfish to think about anything but themselves in every capacity. Because every time you bring a child into the universe, you're bringing a new person to deal with this life. Okay. Second, I'm always going to focus on nonviolence because I think violence is not the answer. And though we all engage in violence because we are animals on a planet, we should mitigate that violence. Okay. So when I see Hassan and I see him engaging in these spaces, and I think to myself, the way that he, because white supremacy puts him, and I get it, a lot of people in my Bert Simon channel were like, isn't Hassan not white? Okay, so again, when they come into my chat and say, why is this white woman coming for Hassan when he's a Muslim man? You guys have to understand we are the same. Like, you can't call Hassan not white and me not white. If Hassan's name was Jake, you would not know he was a Muslim. You would not know he came from a Muslim background. Look at him like a Jake. Call him Jake in your head 100 times until you start to see it. And you're like, oh yeah, dude, he looks like a Jake. He is not a brown man. He's a white man. I am a white woman, okay? So you cannot sit here and talk about, when we talk about white supremacy, you can't sit there and look at Hassan and say like, oh, he's specific. Like, yes, there are people who are Islamophobic. Yes, there are people who are going to discriminate against Hassan for who he is. And yes, people will see the name Hassan. But from a leftist perspective, Hassan is a white man because he benefits from white supremacy. The same way I needed to deconstruct that. You didn't think that hurt my feelings when Black people first told me, Brittany, you're a white woman. And I was like, am I white? Am I white? And they're like, you are white. I was like, I'm white? Like, you think that didn't hurt my feelings? Of course it hurt my feelings because I'm an Assyrian lady. And I think that's very, very important. But of course I'm still white. It doesn't matter. So you have to deconstruct it. And I'm saying you have to introspect too. You can deconstruct and then introspect, deconstruct and introspect, extrospect. I'm saying Hassan hasn't done the work. That's why he can move aside when people say slurs or just go like this or hand wave away racism because he doesn't fucking care. Because he's focused on leftist perspective, which, to be fair, is consistent with his platform, that anti-capitalism takes precedent over identity politics. But again, when we have this conversation, we have to understand that, at least from my perspective, what good is anti-capitalism if it isn't also focusing on the fact that capitalism stays in place because white people don't want brown and Black people to succeed? Like, I don't know why you're pretending otherwise. I don't know why you're not pretending that the world is bigoted because they don't want to see anything. So this whole idea, right, that like we're going to dismantle capitalism together and then we'll deal with racism. Okay, girl, dreaming. And that's patriarchy. Patriarchy allows men to dream about solutions that will never come into fruition because they don't care about people. This is why I say when you center femmes' voices or people who are raised women and conditioned as women under patriarchy, we see the cracks. We see why this is never going to work because men talk to us. We hear people talk. We know what's happening because you guys, you know what I mean? So this idea that we're going to somehow do this together, no, we're not. No, we're not. And like, it's not going to matter. None of these men who are so busy fighting for, quote, anti-capitalism are ever going to do their due diligence to deconstruct their patriarchal beliefs or the way that they've been brainwashed by patriarchy. Okay. And I'll make that clear. So As we move into this though, okay, I want to stop and pause and just talk about this for a second about Hassan saying America deserved 9/11. And again, reframe everything I do from the perspective of protecting children and protecting the vulnerable. Because again, I don't want to advocate for something I don't believe in. But when I am faced, and this is the dilemma of being a creator, so ask questions if you have it, ask clarifying questions, is like I am arguing with like 20 different bubbles and all of them are coming at different places into this conversation, right? So you're going to see in the future of the stream men saying, oh, Hassan made more fun of the men than the women, so how is he a misogynist? That's not how that works. That's not how that works, but I can see why you think that's how it works, because I also at some time in my life thought that's how it works, but it doesn't, okay? So check this out. I got this question from a chatter that is great chatter. Love this chatter, right? Oh my gosh, Brittany, love the content. But when you say something that basically equates to America didn't deserve 9/11 for meddling in foreign affairs and enacting violence on innocent people, just like Palestinians don't deserve to die for simply existing, that can come off as very tone deaf. Like, I think I get where you're coming from, but I think about it even slightly superficially. All I see is basically a white passing woman equating the genocide of innocent Palestinians to the violence that American citizens suffered as the consequence of violence their tax dollars enacted. Does that make sense? Like, an innocent person in Palestine is the same as an innocent person in America, but as an American, you can only be so innocent. Willfully or not, your participation in your nation state makes you complicit in one form or another. Like being a passive American citizen makes you complicit in to the atrocities. That's just a fact. Same way you can't be a not racist if you have been you have to be, wait, hold on. The same way you can't be just not racist, you have to be actively anti-racist. Love the content, love your work always. Just thought I'd shed some light on how that part of the video can come off to people. Okay, obviously 100%. The point was to allow people an opportunity to think of it differently in the same way that when conservatives come to us and say, you know, why would you care about Palestinians if they're homophobic or transphobic? First of all, like a big portion of Palestinians are literally like children. A second part of it is that doesn't matter to me because I don't ask people those things before I decide if I'm going to genocide them or not. No genocide, period. Right? This is an argument from conservatives to say, right, that like violent, and this is patriarchy. This is what I'm trying to say about patriarchy, is there are patriarchal justifications for killing people's children because under patriarchy, offspring are the continuation of liberation. So when people target children, it is a patriarchal move. And I'm saying you cannot say anyone deserves suffering and think it doesn't come directly from patriarchy, right? This is a patriarchal framework that allows us to then argue about who deserves to live, who deserves suffering. And I'm saying no one deserves to suffer, including the people who enact the suffering, right? So I said, I hear you, but listen to me when I say that all people are innocent when they die because of men's patriarchal entitlement. If we started bombing American malls to kill Nazis and my family was there, they would have been innocent in that, right? My family is still bigoted, but they would have been innocent. Because being a bigot doesn't make you not innocent of a genocide. Being bigoted does not make you then innocent of men's entitlement to killing thousands of people, millions of people, because they think it's fair. This is patriarchy, right? Like patriarchy allows you to have a conversation about who deserves to live or die. Right? So, okay, just for context, and we'll expand upon it. So give me a second. Here's what I said. Okay, here's the timestamp. Made over on my Bert Simon channel. Like when Hassan said America deserved 9/11, nobody deserves suffering. It's like when people say Anita deserved to die, this woman at the Tim Hortons. Anita didn't deserve to die. I mean, there were literally people, thousands and thousands of comments. Imagine you're this woman's family. Imagine you are this woman's family and you were listening to people talk about how much she deserved to die, this 75-year-old grandma, right? Imagine you are the parent or you are the one of 200 children that died in the Twin Towers and people hear you say you deserve to die. Just think about all the New Yorkers. Think about all those people. From a humanitarian perspective, from a very like anti-patriarchal perspective, no one deserves this, right? But the justification, Bin Laden's letter to Americans saying America is complicit, they deserve to die. This is patriarchy. And I'm saying tone deaf or not tone deaf, and I definitely don't want to be tone deaf, so definitely correct me, right? Is that ultimately everything is tone deaf through patriarchy because you're only seeing it through the lens of patriarchy. If you take patriarchy out of it, no one is entitled to massacring people, which goes to America and imperialism and colonization. They were not entitled to this. You are not entitled to genociding Native Americans in order to establish this country. Like you are not entitled to this. But the entitlement comes from, oh, but I had to do it because they're evil. No, evil does not justify the murdering of people. You can't murder evil people because it's an entitlement. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying I'm anti-death penalty, right? I'm trying to mitigate violence in my life. The justification of I can enact violence because they're evil is patriarchal. And I'm saying only men could justify the murder. I saw this Israeli guy talk about, and I put it in my clip from my Bert Simon channel about the justification of killing Palestinian children because they're inherently evil. Patriarchy. And this is why I say to you, like, I am always going to take a stance of centering innocent children and nonviolence tactics in a world, by the way, that is always violent. So FYI, Brittany Simon on her little YouTube channel saying we should be less violent is never going to matter in a world where I have the microphone I do because it's this tiny. Do not hold me more accountable than the men leading this country, the men with the largest microphone saying, I'm just a guy. I'm literally just a guy. No, Habibi, I'm just the guy. You're not just the guy. And even I'm not just the guy because I still have a platform. Even I'm not just the guy. But the fact is that I will be held more accountable than the men who have your life in their hands. Your life is in Hassan's hands, whether he likes it or not, because he is the largest guy with the microphone. And him and Elon and Ashley St. Clair and all these people getting up here making content that apparently is better. Okay, when a woman says, how about we be less violent? And everyone goes, boo. And I'm just saying, okay, do not hold me more accountable when that's so absolutely unfair. Now, if you want to put me in that position of power, I will. Okay, but do not do that. Do not look at marginalized people and say, like, you hold more power than these people with so much fucking privilege, with the money to escape this country if anything ever goes wrong, with the ability to move, with the ability to change, with the ability to have security guards, with the ability to do so much fucking, they are so protected. Well, they open their mouths and who bears the brunt of it? Everybody else. So just for the record, okay, when I say no one deserves it, I mean everybody. No one deserves to suffer. Because it is a patriarchal belief that dominance and suffering enacted on the enemy is a right you have. And I'm saying absolutely not. I will never support a group of men. You know that. I will never support a group of men. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to say. Now, does anybody have questions on that front? Because obviously I don't want to be tone deaf. And as you write your questions, I will look at chat in a second. I too will put myself on blast for a video I made September 11th, 2012. Okay, here's the date. September 11th, 2012. Okay, I made this video. I privated it because it was a bad video. It was titled 9/11 is overrated. And I also made my own version of Hassan's statement. I took it down because it's philosophically evil. It's wrong. I shouldn't have made this video. And the same way Hassan should never have said Americans deserve 9/11. So I am not going after Hassan for something I've never done. I'm saying I've been there too, except to be fair, I was in my early 20s. And I think Hassan was in his probably late 20s. Okay. But I'm saying, I'm not saying this from a place of judgment. I'm saying it from a place of wisdom. Whether you believe it or not, you shouldn't say this about anybody, especially when you are, quote, a leader.
And remember that when you wake up every morning, somewhere in the world, someone is experiencing their version of 9/11. Someone is experiencing horrible terrorist motivated attacks. Somebody around the world is dying, being raped, starving. Somebody is going through hell. So we're not the only country mourning. And even though we've decided...
Okay, the whole premise of this video was I was sick of Americans acting like they were the only ones who suffered. That doesn't mean they didn't suffer. You note my sentence, like they're the only ones who suffer. That means Americans still do suffer. We all suffer. We're all suffering in this thing we called life together because we are not working on our violent rhetoric. We're not working on ourselves. We're not mitigating harm. We're entitled to bodies, entitled to lives, entitled to everything. We're entitled. And we even see this with the dark woke people, right? We see this with the dark woke people. Okay, so as an example, let me do this one right here. This is, let me go here. Okay, so just like as an example, Kyle Kalinske does this thing, right? Where he feels entitled to calling women a bitch, right? That's a lot of beans, you nasty ass bitch. Who is he to call a woman a nasty ass bitch when we live under patriarchy? What is that? How about this one? Really disappointed in Kyle over this. Charlemagne, who by the way raped his wife, said Charlemagne the God says it's fine to misgender Caitlyn Jenner because she voted for Trump, and Kyle says correct. So to be clear, okay, you're allowed to, okay, you're agreeing one with a rapist, an admitted rapist, Okay. 2, right? Not my opinion. He said it himself. I've shared the clip. 2, you're saying you can dead name or misgender people because they voted for Trump. And then look at this graph somebody posted on Reddit. You dead naming Caitlyn Jenner. Who that hurts? Every trans person. Basically every trans person. Okay? And that's what I'm saying. All these men looking the other way at everyone's bad behavior to, quote, fight fascism. And I'm saying absolutely not. Not in this house. Not in this house. Absolutely not. Okay, Angela Davis on women's liberation and recognition of trans women.
Why is it so difficult to recognize trans women as women? Even though we know that gender, and especially the binary structure of gender, is totally constructed. Historically, to take an example from US history, Black women were not recognized as real women because they were too outspoken, too angry, not submissive enough. Thus, the 19th century cult of true womanhood was white, true womanhood was middle class, etc., not acknowledging the heterogeneity of gender, cisgender, transgender, gender fluid, gender nonconforming, etc., disarms us. It prevents us from contesting violences that ultimately affect all of us. Black trans women in the US, at least, are the most consistent targets of violence, of individual violence, of stranger violence, of intimate violence, partner violence, also institutional violence, state violence, police violence, prison violence. Radical feminist approaches allow us to understand that issues that might appear initially to be minor and marginal have major, central, vast implications.
Like calling like 2 men on a podcast laughing about a woman and her tits and her pussy. Okay? Like 2 men on a podcast ranting and raving together, okay, about a woman that they just interviewed, or at least one of them just interviewed.
But anyway, this woman, I would be shocked if she's not playing an angle, right? You think she, in her soul, thinks
who knows?
Like,
I suspect. I want to believe that.
You want to believe?
I want to believe that she's woke. I want to believe.
You're pathetic. This is how you're gonna end up in jail, bro. She's gonna be like, so tell me, Hassan, about all that cool stuff you were doing in Cuba. She's gonna have the fucking. She's gonna have the wire in her pussy.
Bro, that's so funny. That's what people are reclaiming because the subpoena came right after. The subpoena came right after she was here.
Hey, talk into my pussy about what kind of illegal stuff you did in Cuba.
Oh my god, it's crazy.
Okay? It's all connected. It's all connected. Okay? I'll show you something else too that really frustrated me. So yesterday on stream, I had mentioned, because I'm always annoyed that Hassan's content is very like sexual, and it's not a safe space in 2026 to be out here throwing around accusations that everyone who hates Hassan just wants to fuck him. That's a very dangerous narrative to send around. Not to mention his fans making videos like this, right? So why do you listen to Hassan Piker so much, bro? In his podcast, right?
It made my dick hard, okay? And that's how we judge our military by how hard it makes our dicks, okay? Think about how hard my dick was when it made my cock hard, and that's what we do things for. What's the other objective? The objective is my penis rock hard? The answer is yes. What can it cut? Diamonds. That's right. Hoorah!
Okay, and then it's like, oh, like, look at the first photo, like, people share, is like this photo. Like, Jesus Christ, guys, come on. Like, get over it, you know? And all these people, you know, be serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so then yesterday on stream, I mentioned, and this is why I'm saying, like, the amount of bad faith that comes into my channel is one. Okay, so there's 3 ways I'm judged by Hassan people. And this is why I say Hassan's community is a cesspool, the same way as any boy on the internet is, okay? Oh, and by the way, did anybody have any questions? Hold on. How do you respond to those that distinguish how Hassan meant America as a state deserved 9/11? I think it's fine. And I've already given Hassan good faith criticism saying, I know what he meant to say, but it was still wrong to say it. And it was still wrong to say it. I already give him that good faith. He's right that America's engagement in the world has brought upon this consequence. All patriarchy, men as a system, has brought upon us the consequence. Women suffer at the hands of patriarchy. Trans, gay, lesbian people are suffering at the hands of patriarchy. Little boys are suffering at the hands of patriarchy. Hassan's not wrong, but he's complicit. He's absolutely adding fuel to the fire by being misogynistic and sexist. So yes, I agree with him that America is not innocent as a country, as a government, but neither is any group of men. Again, men want to blame governments, but they'll never blame men as a system. Men will blame literally everyone but men. They will blame women, gay people, trans people before they ever blame men as a system. And I'm saying patriarchy is absolutely important in our dismantling of the system. Okay? This focus on capitalism being the focus is a distraction because who maintains capital? Men. Patriarchy is maintained, okay? Capital. So again, this idea of white supremacy, capital, patriarchy, like you are missing the point that a lot of people of color, a lot of black men who maintain their patriarchal beliefs is because their desire to be successful comes through the means of capitalism, of adhering to the standard of what white men are expected to be and are able to become, right? Hassan is Hassan because of white supremacy. So when people say, Brittany, is Hassan white though? He is as white as I am white. So if I became the #1 person with a microphone, you should have questions about why Brittany, a girl named Brittany, who yes, might be West Asian, rose to prominence because white supremacy would tolerate me, but it won't in the same way. So here are the criticisms I get. Oh, Hassan is paying your rent. You talk about him so much. That's the same thing Ethan Klein people say to me too, right? That's misogyny. That I can't have an opinion about a celebrity, a popular person. I can't make content about Jordan Peterson because he's paying my rent. What does that even mean? Because Hassan tells his fans, I'm just a guy. Oh, I'm just a guy, right?
People listen to what you're...
And that's it. What's best, what I think of myself. And I know that sounds almost like a political answer, but it's just true. I don't think of myself as like a famous person. I don't think of myself as like a...
Okay, right? So they're coming into my chat saying, Brittany, you're more accountable than our guy who's just a guy. So Hassan gets to be just a guy, but I can't just be a guy. Okay, now they're saying this because one, they'll say, oh, you're just jealous because you don't make as much money as him. Capitalism, right? Oh, you're just jealous because people don't take you seriously like they take him seriously. Patriarchy, right? Oh, you're just jealous because a Muslim man is popular. Is he a popular Muslim man or is he a popular white man? Because Hassan isn't even a practicing Muslim as far as I know. Because the practicing Muslims I know are not as popular as Hassan unless they are grifters, like an Andrew Tate, who is a grifter Muslim. Okay, so Hassan might have been born a Muslim, but he is not a popular Muslim man. He's a popular secular Muslim man, which is not the same thing. It is not the same thing. Okay, so you are using all of these ways to justify his existence and to say that he's a minority and a marginalized person and he's doing all these things. But the moment you go on the intersection of marginalized community, okay, there is a question. And again, we don't play oppressor games. Like, who's more oppressed? We're not playing that game. But I'm saying when you turn around and say like, oh, Brittany should be more accountable, what you're doing is you're doing misogyny. You're doing patriarchy. Why in the world would a girly who makes 60K a year, 70K a year be held more accountable, a queer gender fluid girly who actively takes stances that are unfavorable, right? Why would I be held more accountable than a multimillionaire man, a cisgendered man, a straight man living in Hollywood? Why in the world would I be held more accountable when I don't have connections? I don't have any networking connections that Hassan has. And you know why I don't have those networking connections? Because it would be deeply unethical to have them. A lot of the people Hassan collabs with is unethical. So another thing that people come at me for is, oh, you collabed with Destiny in 2022. I did collab with Destiny in 2022. And do you remember why I collabed with Destiny? Because at that point in my life, and up until that point in my life, I had always remained consistent with I will collab with anyone who will have a conversation with me. And I did. And I continued to do so until I realized, you know what? This isn't helping anybody. And if anything, it's hurting my community. You know who didn't stop collabing with just about everybody? Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker. Because in 2026, he would still be willing to collaborate with anybody that he thinks would be interesting or clout-driven or anything. And I won't do that. So for his fans to come into my chat and say, Brittany's bad because she collabed with Destiny, why? You can't throw that at me. You have no right to throw that at me. When Hassan collabed with Destiny, far more consistent. They had a completely different relationship. Okay, that is completely different. But you can't throw that at me. Second, I already made it clear that I won't collab with people that are as problematic or near problematic as Destiny, which is why I won't collab with any of those people, including Hassan. But for people to say like, oh, Hassan has to do that because he has to debate Asmongold or Charlie Kirk or any of these bad people because somebody has to do it. No, he doesn't. The Necessary Podcast, or the Unnecessary Conversation podcast, that one, absolutely not. So again, this conversation about like, oh, Hassan has to platform Ashley St. Clair. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Okay. And so again, when we have these conversations, I'm just pointing out that this is patriarchy, whether you like it or not, you know? And so again, like Hassan can't be the guy and get no backlash. It's like that TikToker. I love this TikToker said, I love Zoran as a person. He's so great, but tomorrow he will be held accountable because he's not just our friend. He's in a position of power. He's a public servant. Hassan, whether he likes it or not, is basically playing some sort of level of public servant, right? Okay, hold on. Do I have a transphobe in chat or something? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me go to the chat. Where is it? Who is it? Let me see. I can't see. Did my mods already get it? No, I got it. You said I'm being serious about it. Why would I be racist about it? Hold on. Let me check your channel activity. I'll answer your question, but I'm going to block you because you seem bad faith. Okay. I'll answer your question though, but you don't seem like you're a part of this community. They said, why is nobody talking about how black men are the majority who attack black trans women? That's like black on black crime. You're making the black on black crime argument. It's because black people live in black neighborhoods because of white supremacy. And so if you're black and trans, your neighbors will be black and cis, and then you'll engage on more. So you're just making the black on black crime argument, which is rooted in white supremacy. Again, this is why I say I don't talk to people that aren't in my audience, because like, I don't know where you're coming from, but your argument is rooted in white supremacy, right? That's why. So, you know, you're just making an argument that doesn't make sense for a lot of people. Okay, now to swing it back around. Yesterday on stream, I know I'm all over the place, but stay with me here. Yesterday on stream, I said a comment, and I need to know from my audience when I said that that drag queen, not trans woman. I said drag queen. That drag queen who said to Hassan, I don't want to fuck you. We loved her because it was like a different approach to, and it was calling out kind of that narrative. Who here thought I was talking about Laverne Cox when I said drag queen? Because somebody came into my comment section and said, how dare you call Laverne Cox a drag queen? When the fuck did I talk about Laverne Cox yesterday? I never talked about Laverne because Laverne's not a drag queen. So the fact that people came so bad faith into my chat and thought I was talking about Laverne when I was talking about Luscious, who is a drag queen.
No, not at all. Oh my God. Also, can I say, I've been seeing this show and, you know, all the things that you do on social media, and every homosexual, every drag queen, every trans woman who comes on this show is always hitting on Hassan.
Yes.
And so just for the sake of balance, I want to say that Hassan, I'm not into Hassan. Okay. He's not my type. I would never sleep with him. I don't want to be with him. I actually, I'm not bothered.
Wow.
I just wanted to say that because I feel like everyone wants to sleep with this man.
Okay. Oh, Chad said you did mention Laverne as a, but you mentioned them separately. Because the Laverne flirt thing. Okay, so if I did mention Laverne in that context, that makes sense. But in this context, this is different. So people thinking that I was talking about Laverne as a drag queen, why would I call Laverne a drag queen? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think this is the problem of being a queer, marginalized person who's also like, you know, on the non-cis spectrum. Like, why would you think that? And it's because you're not understanding what we're doing here. Okay? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, how am I even supposed to combat these ideas if people aren't even... So when I say Hassan's community comes into my chat and yells at me, do you understand that you are fighting on behalf of a white cis man against marginalized people who are making salient points? I'm not trying to weaponize my identity. I'm not trying to say because my identity, I'm smarter than Hassan. I'm trying to say, and my identity has informed my position. And because of my identity, I've also deconstructed X, Y, Z. And I think it is harder for white cis men to deconstruct homophobia, transphobia, and racism because they are not incentivized to do the same. I have to do it. It's my lived experience. So I'm not using my identity to say, oh, Hassan can't speak because I'm this. I'm saying because of this, I have. Okay? Also, just to take a pause and celebrate a drag king. Meet the 81-year-old who's been a drag in drag for 61 years.
She was doing drag before most of this crowd was born.
My name is Saldana, and I hold the Guinness World Records of the oldest performing drag king in the world.
Love
She's
that.
81. She cleans houses during the week. But when she
81.
looks out with weekend gigs, she becomes someone else entirely.
I put myself out there on stage and just forget everything else that's around me.
Welcome to the stage, Eldania!
Eldania, whose real name is Elsie Saldana, has been performing for 61 years. And she's still got moves, not just on stage.
How would you smooth a woman? Let's just give him a nice smile and charm.
For this drag king, the big break is always just one more show away.
It makes me happy in my heart and soul because I love it so much, and I hope to continue until I'm at least 90.
Absolutely love, okay? Now, now chat says, why do you think Hassan has the sort of cultish following he does? Some of them defend him in the comments, seem to abandon the principles to do it. Actually, okay. I actually think they're pretty consistent. Hear me out. I think when you're an anti-capitalist and a leftist and a Marxist, you do believe that, quote, identity is secondary to capitalism, which I think is the flaw of Marxism. And again, I'm not the most well-read person. I haven't read the most books on Marxism, but when I understand it in principle, love the framework, okay? But when put into practice, I think still throws marginalized people under the bus. And so it's interesting to watch people worship the thoughts of a white man or the thoughts of white men, and who existed in the 1800s, who like existed under a certain framework, who didn't take into consideration and often say like, put those people aside, right? So I actually think Hassan's audience is probably pretty consistent with the fact that they don't care about marginalized people. And I do think a lot of his audience is probably liberals who don't understand even what he's talking about half the time, right? So here's an example, okay? No shade to this person, but they said, hey, it would be beneficial if you could actually articulate how the misogyny you witnessed in their conversation is harmful, and the ways misogyny in general impacts society and people. Without an actual explanation, it's difficult for someone who you are what's this word, ostensibly saying is part of the problem. Don't make fun of me, I have a disability. Like myself, to understand what the problem is and makes the video seem more like an echo chamber of you agreeing with your viewers about your already established notions instead of teaching people how not to be misogynistic. But maybe I'm just misunderstanding, and your goal isn't to teach about misogyny, but just to point to misogyny with your viewers who already are on the same wavelength as you. So maybe my critique isn't valid for what your actual goal is. I don't know. I said, I run a philosophy channel. I'm happy to explain why misogyny or racism or homophobia are harmful. It's true, though, that my audience is usually made up of liberals and leftists, so they normally don't need me to explain why these things are bad. Tomorrow we'll be going over the difference between being sexist and misogynistic, so that might be helpful to you. And then they said, thank you for replying. That's very kind of you, and I appreciate you being willing to discuss it. I hope not to make you feel as though I'm entitled to work from you. Thanks again. But you, and I appreciate the discourse. I do. Okay. And again, I think the problem is, okay, I think the dilemma is we run into this where it feels like to my audience, the fact that I even have to explain to grownups, like why misogyny wrong or why sexism wrong or why racism wrong is exactly why the state of the world is the way that it is. So when Hassan says like, I don't focus on trans issues, I don't care about black issues, I don't care about women issues because I'm focused on capitalism, he is now pushing all of these people to people like me. And look, I'm fine to answer these questions. I think I could do it, but he's also not doing the work. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying now all of these marginalized people who are still like, we're struggling to pay bills, we're struggling to do these things, we're doing XYZ. And now on top of it, the person who could speak to millions of people at once, explain it to millions of people, I can only speak to 1,000, maybe 10,000 people. If I'm lucky, 200,000, 400,000 people on my second channel, right? But Hassan with the largest microphone isn't teaching he's not keeping his audience focused. He's letting people fall behind because, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Fine. But look at, you know what I'm saying? So now I can't just come to my audience and be like, oh my God, racism, am I right? And they're like, well, why is racism bad? Why do I have to explain this to you? Okay, I guess we'll explain why racism bad, which we did at the beginning of the year. We went back to the basics. Why racism bad? Why misogyny bad? Okay, why all these things bad? You know what I mean? So again, I get it, but also, okay. Chat said, would you want to read more on Marxism? I can recommend some good books and articles. Look, we already have a reading list going in the Discord. We're already all reading all these books. My community is on it. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have a community that is more well-read than a lot of communities. So I don't want to hear them fucking come to my chat. Not you, you're fine. Okay. And be like, Brittany's community is like, girly, we have a book thread. We're reading all the books. We're listening. We're focused because we want to know, right? We're not interested. We're very interested. We're just saying, why aren't you as interested as you want to be? Like Hassan's community, Hassan's branding, let me say that, Hassan's branding does not sound well-read. It sounds very celebrity, very gotcha, very sensational. It does not seem serious. And I'm saying, trust me, we're serious. We're in it. We got it, girl. But like, yes, if you always want to suggest to the audience another book to read, do it. Half the time when chat recommends a book to read, I put it on my reading list. Okay. So like, we are doing it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like we're not doing it, but we are not the we are a very small niche community, right? Probably because nobody gives a fuck that we've read these books or that we're having these conversation. You know what I mean? So I get it, right? But I'm saying that's why he has more responsibility, because he has the chance to talk to more people. Okay. But yes, yeah, Chad said I have a screenshot collection of all the books. Yeah, literally the list is so long, right? The list is so long of the books, but we will get to it because God knows, I think my community on average probably reads, I mean, we're readers, so we know we're happy to read. So yes, suggest books, definitely. Like, we're not opposed to it, okay? Now this person said, I have a question about misogyny, trad wife archetypes like Candace Owens. During a Jubilee debate, one of the 20 told Candace to go back to the kitchen and birth kids and stop talking. Since you're advocating for that, I'm paraphrasing. Is that misogyny? Because some part of me cheered her on when I watched it, but part of me sometimes questions myself, is that misogyny? I want to say no because the insult is specific to Candace and the lifestyle she advocates for, but part of me says yes. Okay, so I think this is the clip, yeah?
You'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled. Okay. But when you sit here and you go,
right?
You'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all
if this is the clip you're talking about, so what she's doing is she's enacting a sexist talking point in order to throw it back in Candace's face with the understanding that Candace herself is using misogyny and sexism to make her initial point. So she is not a sexist person. She's using a sexist talking point to throw it back in Candace's face. It's not misogyny, right? Because women can't do misogyny. Women can only have internalized misogyny, right? Like, it's different. So she's throwing it back in Candace's face. Like, Candace is using misogynistic talking points because she has internalized misogyny, because she hates herself for being a woman. Yes, it's true that Candace does make the argument that, like a lot of trad wives do, or a lot of conservative women do, Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, did the same thing, right? The greatest gift I've ever been given is being a mom. I love being a full-time mom. Then go do it, right? Then go do it. But that's why it's hypocritical. It's a hypocrisy, and that's what they're pointing out. So using the argument back to her within the context, I think, is reasonable, but it's to make a point, right? That's what a debate is for in that context, right? So here's another example of the same conversation, different person.
People coming together and starting families is one of these things, because we are biologically wired to find a family, to settle down, and to have children. And I think when you have women that are going out and they're giving all of the goods up for free.
The goods?
The goods.
The goods?
I'm not going to say, the goods up for free. Men
but what if women
not,
want the goods for free from men, and that we are very happy with those?
You can certainly do that. And there's
connections. We're not sockeye salmon. We're not made to breed and have families and then die.
You are welcome to do that. I'm just saying that when it comes time for you to find a partner, you may find yourself in a circumstance where men don't value you as high, because men like you spoke to, men like to compete. They like to feel like they've won something.
I'd like to deprive men of that because they don't need to have that. Sure. That's actually
But you did bring up.
Yeah, and that's what you say, that men are, essentially predatory, and we have the goods that we have to keep from them.
Oh, I didn't mean the goods in a bad way.
But that's such an objectifying way. The goods, the grocery goods.
Honestly, I think that's just kind of
we don't have value
colloquial
in that way. We have value
songs
in our
today.
Soul.
I think
we have value apart from how many people we sleep with. How many, you also devalue education for women, and I think that's very interesting because you're also a very educated woman, and in a lot of ways, this is just like an observation.
Okay, so the idea is that she's using misogynistic talking points, Candace, right? So, okay, when we talk about systems, because somebody asked in chat, why can't women do a misogyny? Okay, hold on. Here's this person said, I swear to God, I watched this video with an open mind, but the main accusation was that he laughed with Starvos, called her dumb, and made a joke about her hiding wire in her pussy. That's it. I'm sorry, but it really feels like you're projecting a lot onto him and a vastly overstating harm. He was meaner to Elon and Ian Miles Chung in this video. This criticism feels very flimsy and examples were not concrete. Someone said, I keep seeing people say shit like they called a right-wing woman dumb, or Hassan telling old bigoted Vietnamese women politician, don't know her name, don't care, to shut up old woman is misogynistic, is just reaching in a bad take. We can tell the old white racist, oh my God, Brittany, old racist white men to shut up, and we need to get the old men out of office and call them stupid, but calling bigoted women of any kind non-sexist names or telling them to shut up is bad. Yeah, fuck, or yeah, I'm out, fuck that. We don't need to be nice. Just don't use sexist language. Treat women how you would treat men. Okay, I said women and men are not opposites. We live under oppressive systems. Men sitting around talking about how women are dumb is not the same thing as women doing it. I could expand on stream. Okay, so obviously this goes back to like, can black people be racist? Can gay people be homophobic? Obviously we can't, because individually, right? But you can internalize teachings that make you think less of yourself. So you project that onto other people. You can internalize from patriarchy a hatred of yourself as a woman and think that you need to be like the men to be as equal to them. You can, as a black person, internalize white supremacy and think you're not good enough against white supremacy. You can internalize homophobia and think as a gay person, right? So when we have these conversations, men and women are not opposites of each other. Black and white people are not opposites of each other. They live amongst each other and with each other in systems of oppression. And there's only one group of people who excel comparatively to those marginalized people in the intersection in which they occupy. And this, in this case, would be the white cis man compared to everybody else. And Hassan is a white cis man compared to everybody else. And that's what I'm saying. So Hassan has and is in a hierarchical way of thinking at the top of the oppressive pyramid. Now, the only chance at the intersection Hassan occupies in which he would not be at the top is against a European man, right? A European white man. That's it. Hassan is still at the top. And so again, when we talk about these conversations, when we have these conversations, you know, saying that we can't call women dumb, I'm not saying I can't call women dumb. I'm saying you can't call women dumb when you're sitting in a group of men and you're saying pussy this and tits this and women are so stupid, and not be engaging and contributing to misogyny as it relates to women in oppressive systems like patriarchy. You might as well be hanging out with Myron Gaines. Like, that's what I'm saying. You might as well hang out with Myron Gaines when you're going around calling women fucking nasty ass bitch, okay? And then calling yourself a proponent of supporting women, okay? You might as well do that. So here's an example. What would we call this, guys? What would you call this?
Can't lead anything. The only thing they can lead is to the end of the relationship. Simply doesn't work when women are in the power position in a relationship, because women don't respect weak men that they're leading.
Okay, no, a woman's not going to respect a weak man, but if they're both equals, then there will be mutual respect between both of them. And
but that's the problem. Men and women are not equal.
How? We're the ones that give you life. Why is there no respect for that?
Well, actually, technically, we put our semen into you, and that's what creates life, not you guys. You guys just incubate.
Actually, semen can be performed and created in a lab, so we don't even need you anymore. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, what is this narrative that Myron Gaines is using?
Women can't lead
to avoid an equitable relationship. Women and men can't be equal because they're born different. Misogyny, an inherent belief that men are better than women, a disdain and hatred for women, okay? Again, okay, chat says, I completely disagree, Brittany. People individually can be racist and sexist regardless of their identity. If you're talking systematically, then yes, systematically we cannot be sexist as women. Okay. Women learn to hate men because of the way men treat them. Men hate women for simply being women. That's the difference. Women do not hate men for simply being men. They start to hate men because of the way men treat them, rape them, talk badly to them. They grow resentful of men. That is typically what happens. Typically. Almost every woman, I've never even seen a rad femme, the most radical feminist you've ever met, the most radical, I quote, identity misandrist, will always say it's because of the way that men rape women. That is different. Myron will say because of the way women are born, we hate women, they're less than us. Simply existing as a woman means you are simply less. See how no woman had to hurt him for him to hate women? See how he never references anything women have ever done to him to hate women? That is the difference. Okay? That is why when we talk about marginalized people, under white supremacy, and we talk about homophobia, and we talk about transphobia, most of the marginalized people would be absolutely chill as fuck with white people if white people didn't create the system that uplifts them and keeps them at the top and keeps everybody else at the bottom. It's a retaliation. It's to say, why are you doing this to us? We were chill with you until you were not chill with us. And that's the point. And that's what I'm trying to say to you. Us existing is enough for you to hate us. We simply exist. This is why when we talk about white supremacists being obsessed with black people, it's like there's this meme where it shows a white person sleeping and they're thinking about black people and hating black people. It's because you hate black people for simply existing. Your anti-blackness is there. They're just black. And you're like, hate them. That's not the same thing as a black person who's been so marginalized or so attacked or so targeted by white people to be like, fuck white people. That is not the same thing. Black people do not go to sleep thinking about how much they hate white women or white men. They think about how much they hate the way they've been harmed, targeted, and exploited by whiteness. And so there is a completely different conversation. Okay? Another example, guys, of Starvos and Hassan, what they engaged with, sitting around and talking about women in this really derogatory and disgusting like way. Okay? So imagine you have two guys, two straight conservative men who are anti-gay marriage, sitting around talking about a gay person. And they're like, oh my God, he's so gross. I think he's a pervert. I think he's a pedophile. Like, oh, these gay people, they're pedophiles. Okay, that is different than people sitting around and saying, dude, these fucking men are all pedophiles. Like these men are pedophiles. These Christians are pedophiles. When the Catholic Church has spent millions and millions of dollars supporting sex criminals, that is a different commentary than two Christian men sitting in a room talking about how gay people are predators. And that's basically what they engaged with. Hassan and Starvos sat there and basically engaged in two cis men talking bad about women, body parts, derogatory language, using basically a tool that Myron Gaines would be happy to use himself against women. It's a completely different context. And I'm saying that's why it feels silly. Like, we're not in kindergarten anymore, guys. You can't talk like kindergartners of like, oh, I don't see color. Like, we're not 5 years old anymore. We're too damn old to pretend the world is that fucking simple. Okay? Which is why I will be good faith to Hassan when he says hyperbolic shit that I'm like, okay. Like, we're too damn old to sit here and pretend. You know what I mean? That this shit doesn't have impact. So did that answer that question to that person who said, I think individuals can be racist? They can engage in, right, how they think of the word. Like on the superficial level, you can be like, oh, black people are so racist. They hate white people. Superficially, you can observe that, okay? But if you dig deeper on why it's happening, it most likely is not truly a hate of white people for simply being white. It's usually a hate of colonization, of white supremacy, of all of these years of hearing you're not good enough simply for being. So again, superficially, you might hear this when women say, fuck all men, I hate men, what do we even need men for? But when you dig deeper on why these women feel that way, they'll say they rape us, they pillage us, they destroy our countries, they kill our boys, right? The mothers having their children whipped from their wombs, not pro-life, literally in moments of conflict and war, so those babies can grow up to be soldiers for men. How is a woman supposed to turn around and say, oh my God, I love men. Oh my God, men. When men are literally kidnapping their children and turning them into soldiers. Okay? So again, like when you really ask people, hey, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Why are you saying that? It's usually coming from a deep place of deep understanding of how much suffering is in the world. And then I say to you, one of the greatest forms of liberation we can take as people who have children, who can procreate, is protecting that procreation. Look what's happening with the wizard Liz, trying her best to fight patriarchy in the worst possible fucking way because she was not liberated from patriarchy, but instead tried to win that at their own game. You cannot be patriarchy at its own game. You cannot be racism at its own game, guys. You can't be capitalism at its own game, guys. You can't. It's not how it works. And what's happening to wizard Liz? Got pregnant by the worst man who's driving her absolutely crazy because she tried to be patriarchy at its own game. Never going to happen. Stop listening to women who haven't deconstructed enough. Even though they're anti-patriarchy, they still think they can be patriarchy at its own game. You can't. You can't be racism at its own game. And that's what a lot of these debate bros are doing. They're trying to beat the system at its own game. You can't. You can't. And again, and I say this to you as embodied leftists, why are you giving Hassan more money? I mean, really think about it. Why would you give a person who's a millionaire more money? Right? He's making a minimum $200,000 a month off your donations. Why are you donating to a millionaire? Why doesn't Hassan have enough money to last him a lifetime? Yes, is the answer. Yes, he does. Why are you giving him a penny more of your money? Now, if he has a product you really, really want, like merch or something, sure. And even then, right? Well, why are you giving him more money? Why wouldn't you then, distribute those funds to more marginalized people? Why wouldn't you give it to different smaller creators? Not me, by the way, not me. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about why wouldn't you give it to more people though? And I'm not telling you what to do with your money, for the record. I'm asking you to challenge your positioning as an anti-capitalist. Oh yeah, why am I giving more money to them? Now, if you want something from him directly, that's fine. Okay? Again, that's fine. And I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm saying just ask yourself. That's it. That's all I'm ever asking is like, oh, I wonder why we do this. But even asking the question is enough for people just to freak out. Okay, now here's Clavicular talking to a group of women. What would you call this action?
Tits. Are they real?
Oops.
You got big tits. Are they real? No? Oh, it's okay. They did a good job. But
They look real, don't they?
He says, you got big tits. Are they real? Okay. Why would you ask that question? Right? Because it's a normalized form of sexism that's in the bubble, right? And listen, we all grew up with that. We had to deconstruct it a lot, especially as millennials, right? And if you're in a queer, safe space, it might not be rude if your gay friend's like, oh my God, girl, are your tits real? And I'm like, no, they're not. Or yes, they are, right? That might be a different safe space. But when a straight man like Clavicular, or at least a assumed straight man, is sitting here in this position on a stream where he knows misogyny is rampant, and he looks at a woman and goes, your tits are huge. That's a completely different interaction. Now, he might not inherently believe that women are less than men. This might just be on the surface level, a sexist comment. Okay, now let's talk about misogyny and sexism a little bit clearer. So misogyny is believing that women are inherently less than men because of a biological predisposition, that men are born inherently better. Example, this is a very example, right? So Myron Gaines is a misogynist. He thinks women and men are literally different in a literally derogatory way, okay? Which is different than a man who might be like, oh no, I think men and women are the same. Like, we're the same. Though I do think for some reason, I feel like, a good example is I think men and women are the same for sure. But when the baby poops in its diaper, my wife's just better at changing it. Why is your wife better at changing it? I don't know, dude. There's just something about her. Like, she gets it. It's sexist to think your wife is better at changing a diaper, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's inherently misogynistic unless we deconstruct it and find out it is. Myron would say, oh, because she's a woman. That's misogyny. Because she's a woman, she's better at changing a diaper. But a man might say, oh, no, my wife works. She goes to college. She's smart. She's a lawyer. She's successful. But yeah, she's just better with the kids than I am. Why do you think she's better than the kids? Why do you think she's better? That's sexist. Like, you're not thinking about why you think it's better. Now, again, there is a very big difference, but they can't. So all misogynists are sexist. Not all sexist people are misogynist, right? So when we have this conversation, it's like we have to think about our relationship too. So another example is saying women who dress slutty deserve to be raped. Misogyny. Man, she didn't deserve to be raped. I just wish she covered up more. Sexist. Sexism that enables misogyny. Sexism that enables misogyny. Okay? Victim blaming enables misogyny and often comes from people. Okay. Example with racism, of course, is white people who touch black people's hair because they think it's so pretty. Racist. Don't do that. Fucking weirdo. Because you're not touching their hair for any other reason than it's black hair, and you're saying that it's uniquely different than anyone else's hair and then deserves to be objectified and then now you feel entitled to touching it. It's racism, but it's a racism, but you might not even think of yourself as a racist because you also maybe you believe you have black family, or maybe you have black family or friends, or you work, or you vote for, or it's you're dealing with you're not a white supremacist KKK Nazi, but it's also a racism. Don't do that. You're engaging in something. You're engaging with it's okay. Bad empanada going after FD's hair. Don't talk about his hair. Now you might say, well, why can't we talk about black people's hair, but we can talk about white people's hair? Because there's not this historical context connected to hair. Look, if you want, in the future, once we dismantle racism and white supremacy and it no longer exists, joke, okay? Sure, you could talk about black people's hair, but you can't talk about black people's hair in this social context because it's just, you know what I'm saying? So for Bad Empanada to so casually just spill out of his mouth comments about FD's hair, it's like, again, you can't actually just talk about his hair. Now, again, this might be hard for you because you're thinking, oh, with my friends, with my loved ones, that's not what we're talking about. Okay? This is a public figure making a public statement in a public way for everyone to see publicly. This is not a private conversation between loved ones. This is, you know what I'm saying? This is a very different conversation. So when you come out here and you have these conversations, an example, black women have been asking white women to be very careful about when they engage with girl, because when you girl only at black women, do you know what I'm saying, girlies? Be very careful as white women to feel like, oh, I'm just trying to connect. But if the only time you turn on the girl is when you're around black women, it is engaging in a racism. Because now you're only enacting this energy around black people. You're acting different around black people. That's what I'm saying. When you act different around people. So, okay, all of this stuff is layered. It's layered. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, but it's layered. So again, when you put on a voice, when you talk a certain way, when you interact with people, and you know how I know all this? I watch black creators. That's all it takes. Like, watch black creators and they will teach you, they will tell you, they will advocate. And you just have to say, okay, when am I using it? When am I not using it? Like, when can I say girl in a way that is actually unifying? And when can I say girl when it's not unifying? When do I catch myself? Okay, that's all we're asking, okay? We're asking for you to consider it. You know, I'm not, again, everyone, we're not attacking, we're not trying to say, but if we can't even say, if black communities, if black women can't even say, you know, with Hassan, I can't even say Hassan is being sexist without a bunch of men from his community coming and dragging me. So then you'll say, why don't women ever tell us? Women never tell us anything. Black people never tell us anything. Gay people never tell us anything. Because when we do, you turn around and go, rah, 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 rah. So when is it? When am I allowed to say, oh, hey, like, if you don't, like, just FYI, don't say that. Okay. Let's see. Chat says, Brittany, what would you say to those white women that say they do girl to only white people as a form of survival, similar to code switching? Wait, Brittany, what would you say to white women that say they do girl to only white people as a form of survival, similar to code switching for black people? I don't think I understand that social context. White women surviving with white women? You're saying white women say girl to white women. Can you expand on that? I'm not sure what social situation that might look like, right? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, chat said all we're asking is for basic consideration. Exactly. All we're advocating is for basic consideration. Because again, if the same way Ethan Klein said to Taylor Lorenz, Hassan will never fuck you. That's basically what Hassan viewers are saying to me when they're saying like, oh, you're just jealous. He's paying your rent. Like, he'll never fuck you. You're not going to be famous like him. You're not going to get attention like him. Like, you just want attention. I could not, because of my ethics, I could not be in Hassan's position because what he did to get there is unethical to me. That's what I'm saying. And you're not getting it, right? Okay, Chet says, let's see. Girl, also, we're not part of the same group to connect on what do you know about me outside of being black? Let's see. Chat says, I am black. Okay, I'm out here listening to all kinds of black female creators because they tell the truth. True. Let me see. Maybe I missed the, I meant to say only black women. Oh, okay. Let me go back and read the comment. Sorry. Brittany, what would you say to those white women who say they say girl to only black girls, black women, as a form of survival similar to code switching for black people? So like, the white woman is trying to signal to the black woman that they're safe. Is that what you mean? I think to the white girl, I would say, be considerate of the fact that the black woman might see it as a form of actually not safety. So I would ask the black woman if it's okay and if we're comfortable. I guess I wouldn't open up with it, maybe. Or maybe I wouldn't, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know we mirror each other, so that comes into play. So if you're mirroring, I think that could be fine. But I would say that to say internally, I as a white woman will say girl to a black woman to make her feel comfortable. That isn't a guarantee. And it actually probably would backfire more or less. So instead, I would probably just not do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Because now you're intentionally doing it. Now you're saying, oh, because she's black, I'm going to use girl. See, now we're back to the beginning. right? So I think like I think it's more likely to be harmful than helpful, you know? Yeah, Chet says, I think there's plenty of other ways to signal safety. Yeah, I think so too. I think there's probably better ways to signal safety. And so that's where I would, at least from the feedback I've been seeing, like, or at least, not the feedback, but the content I've been seeing on the internet, I think so. Now, okay, here's another example of the ways to, in good faith, kind of move through these topics that I think are important. So, okay, trigger warning, white woman is about to talk and be crazy Islamophobic, okay?
Considered Islamophobic if I buy pigs? Is it considered Islamophobic if I buy pigs to keep in my yard just to specifically piss off my Muslim neighbors?
Yes. Because why would you buy pigs otherwise? Yes. This woman is a conservative grifter. She's a horrible person. But yes. Do you see the difference? Like, why you do something is everything. Why you do something is everything. Okay, if she just bought pigs to have in her yard, like, what does that have to do with anything? But if you buy it because you have Muslim neighbors, yes, it's bad.
Because I feel like throwing bacon in their yard might be a little bit of a stretch.
Like, do you see how evil this is? This is philosophically evil. This is philosophical evil. This is very, very unethical. This is very bad. Okay?
But if I buy pigs, and technically they're on my property, I don't think that that's Islamophobic. But at the same time, do I really care if I come across as Islamophobic? No, I really don't, because fuck my neighbors. Fuck them and their dog-hating selves. They fucked me over by hating my dogs, so now I'm out for blood.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's bad, okay? Now, what if she had a Muslim friend that said, nah, bro, that's so funny, you should do that. Does it make it okay now? Or does that Muslim person, are they suffering from internalized Islamophobia and they're trying to be cool? Okay? This connects to any women, and all of us have done this, I've done this, where we laugh at misogynistic or sexist jokes because we think we're in a safe space with men. I did this with Destiny. I will say that. I thought, because I didn't know who he was, that he was a safe space because he was introduced to me as non-binary. He was introduced to me as a progressive. He was introduced to me as like a guy who's anti-MAGA. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll collab with him. That sounds nice. And then we were joking and I thought we were all in on the joke. And then when I realized like, oh, you're actually misogynistic. You're actually like a bad person. I left that community. And do you remember why I had to leave the community? Because I said something against Destiny. In absolutely good faith, I called him out, and then he sent a harassment campaign against me for 2 fucking years and painted me as a crazy girl, a BPD girl, all these things. And by the way, I fought that alone, which I shout out to FD Signifier, who acknowledged in my comment sections. He even said, I'm sorry, you kind of like, you had to deal with that. For 2 years, I dealt with it on my own. And I'm telling you this right now, I could have made a house worth of money. I could have seriously bought a house on probably the amount of drama I could have enacted, the amount of views I could have enacted by going after Destiny and making streams about him for 2 years. I could have absolutely made a bank, like I could have made a bag. And I didn't, I chose not to do that. I chose in that moment to say, I'm going to learn to stand up for myself without resorting to this type of behavior. The same behavior that got Hassan famous, the same behavior that got him a bag, the same behavior he enacts to this day to stay relevant. And I told myself, I'm not going to do this. Okay? I'm not going to do this. And it was the right decision because, again, I was alone. Because there weren't a bunch of YouTubers coming to my defense. There were a few, mostly Muslims, mostly Muslim men even. There were a few people coming to my defense. But generally speaking, nobody did, so I had to do it alone. And I did it, and I did it. And I survived it, and it was great. You know, I'm better for it. But don't act like I didn't sit there in that space and realize it in real time. Uh-oh, I can't do this anymore. Okay? And don't turn around and say to me like, oh, well, you collabed with Destiny, so you can't, you're a bad person. When your boy Hassan still collaborates with bad people to this day. Just because it's not Destiny doesn't mean he's still not doing it. So don't come in at me. You know what I'm saying? And I did take a loss for it, and it was the right decision to make, okay? It was the right decision to make. Now, Kevin Hart had a roast in which white comedians said the most racist fucking shit. It's still racist even if Kevin Hart approved it, right? So when people say, oh, well, can Hassan be sexist or misogynistic? Like, can he be those things if he fights for women? Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Right? Here's Kevin Hart justifying,
it wasn't
justifying the roast because you know how it is, right?
A tasteful joke to our culture, to our audience, but our audience.
This is about the George Floyd joke.
That's watching the roast. If you're watching the roast, you get why they're doing it. You get why the racial humor is on the table. Like, it's not. I wasn't shocked. Like, that's what they do. Go look at the Tom Brady one. Like, that's what they do. It's
right. He's saying, well, that's just how it is. And that's the racism of it all. That's the anti-blackness of it all, right? And a bunch of Black creators have already spoken upon it, of course. But I'm using examples because I want you to understand, like, it doesn't matter what somebody does for the community or what someone does for a group of people if they turn around and then justify some use of transphobia as an example, like Kyle Kalinske, because, quote, it's at a person I don't like. So if I don't like them, I can be racist. If I don't like them, I can be misogynistic. If I don't like, that's what they're saying. They're saying if I don't like you, I can do the thing I've called them out for. How can we call out conservatives for being these things and then turn around and do it ourselves? And that's because I say, like, humans don't have values, like consistent values. And I'm saying pick and choose your battles. And there is a way to do it. There is a way to engage in good faith. Okay. Now, Chet says at some point, Hassan and Destiny were friends. Is Hassan tainted forever also? Most don't hold him to the standard. Well, no, that's the point. They don't hold him to the standard. And that's why I'm saying, like, this is absolutely patriarchy and misogyny. Because again, I'm not saying I even want Hassan's position. I've made it clear I'm not willing to do what Hassan has done to have his position. I'm coming from a principled stance, but nobody will ever see it that way because they can't imagine that I'm not just trying to come for Hassan's position. And I'm saying if I wanted to be Hassan Piker, I would have to change everything I did about my career. And that is the misogyny and patriarchy of it all. That I must be a clout-chasing celebrity just like he is, because why else would you be talking about Hassan without thinking about the fact that he is indeed, whether he likes it or not, a celebrity. He's the largest person who's supposed to be advocating, right? Hassan's supposed to be advocating for me, right? And I'm saying, I have questions, right?
So from my perspective, I just see myself as a regular dude who has a lot of strong opinions and isn't afraid to talk about those opinions. And I know that sounds almost like a...
Yeah, and Chat says the way Hassan dismissed you because he considered you an orbiter. Oh, the way his fan said, please watch Brittany Simon's video. And he said, no, I don't know who this is. And I don't know who that is. But he had Ashley St. Clair on. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I made a very good video about Destiny, for the record. The victims even reached out to me in private and said, thank you so much. I was so scared to speak up, but you did instead. And I said, I got you. I get it, right? You're in a worse position I am. I'm in a better position of privilege to stand up to Destiny because we were not intimately involved. We were not romantically involved. So I had more of a standing. These women who had sex with Destiny were considered whores and sluts and dismissed. And I'm saying because I did not sleep with him, because we were not sexual, because that was never where we went, I was able to speak up. And I still got dismissed. And who dismissed me? This guy. Who dismissed me? But then who will he bring up instead? And then what he does, he brings Ashley St. Clair on and then he sex shames her. And that's why I will never talk to Hassan Piker, because if I come on his show, his audience will sex shame me. They will harass me. He will do it himself. He did it to this woman right now. This woman who had fake nudes made about her. This woman who's being attacked by Elon Musk. Like, she's not a perfect person. I went after Ashley St. Clair too. But I'm saying that's the dilemma. This is not a safe space for women, you know? And I'm saying that's the point. That's the point. Yeah, and Chet said if you were a boy, he wouldn't have assumed you were just an orbiter. Well, I know Ryan Beard, who is a non-binary person, but mask presenting. I know Ryan's video that used clips from my video, which I'm fine with, of course. Their video was shown on stream. Hassan was more than happy to watch Ryan's video about Destiny, but he didn't watch my video about Destiny. And I think it's because I'm femme presenting and Ryan is mask presenting. And that's why I say he hasn't deconstructed his own misogyny, because the voices that needed to be uplifted in that moment were people who were targeted and harassed by Destiny, who were good people. I am a good person. And I understand some of the victims of Destiny, they're not perfect victims or they're not even good people, but that doesn't justify the harm that was done to them. You don't have to uplift their voices. But I have never done the things that these women have done to have my voice also dismissed. But I wouldn't want it propped up by this man, because if you're not willing to fight for the injustice that these women incurred, whether they are good or not, that's the misogyny. Because that was my issue with Abba. When I told Abba, Destiny is abusing women, and he said, well, these women are bad people. And I said, well, what about me? Do you think I'm a bad person? And even if they're bad people, they don't deserve to be treated this way. Right? And Chad said, oh, I bet it's because of what you were wearing in the thumbnail. A lot of men took my thumbnail, which I thought I was just wearing a nice dress, literally, so autistic of me, and they made boob comments, made sexual memes about me. And I do think Hassan probably saw that thumbnail and thought the same exact thing because he's engaging in sexism. I agree with Chad. There's a very high probability that he thought I was, and I tried to make the most like melancholy, serious looking thumbnail, okay? Because I didn't want people to misconstrue it as drama. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I tried so hard to make it like such a reasonable video, and it didn't matter. So this is the thumbnail, this one right here. Okay, but I changed the thumbnail because of the way men were treating me. But this is the dress I was wearing. 2 years for Destiny to figure it out, to go to therapy, and to realize he is the problem. And he hasn't done it. And I am sick of seeing women bear the brunt of this man's abuse. And even though Kelly Jean, who is infamous in the community for mocking me, saying that my illness isn't real, and has been cruel to so many people, even Kelly Jean doesn't deserve this abuse. Because 2 wrongs don't make a right, except that Destiny believes it does. And I just want to make sure that we understand that about his character.
So as heavily requested, let's...
Right? Okay. So like, I am making a point. And I'm saying... Okay, I got heavily scrutinized for this dress. I got heavily scrutinized. The amount of memes that were made about me, calling me a slut because of this dress. And I just thought I looked nice. And that's what I'm trying to say. I made a very good video about Destiny. And by the way, even though people were really mean to me in those comments, a lot of people came back and apologized after the Lauren Southern leaks because they realized I was telling the truth. Because I was trying to tell the truth. I just didn't have the receipts because I had been told it verbally. But it was true. And that's what I'm saying. And so again, whether we like it or not, that is misogyny. And I know my chat's like, but there is no boob. I don't get it. But the men thought there was boob. Regardless of what women in this audience or deconstructed men in this audience think, the men from those communities who saw me in that dress made it all about my breasts. So again, when you ask like, you know, what's sexism, what's misogyny, these things are all layered and they all intersect together. But when you say like, why do you think Hassan's engaging in this behavior? Or why do you think this is wrong? Or why do you think this is sexist?
This woman, I would be shocked if she's not playing an angle, right? You think she, in her soul, thinks
who knows?
Like,
I suspect. I want to believe that.
You want to believe?
I want to believe that she's woke. I want to believe.
You're pathetic. This is how you're gonna end up in jail, bro. She's gonna be like, so tell me, Hassan, about all that cool stuff you were doing in Cuba. She's gonna have the fucking. She's gonna have the wire in her pussy.
Bro, that's so funny. That's what people were reclaiming because the subpoena came right after. The subpoena came right after she was here.
Hey, talk into my pussy about what kind of illegal stuff you did in Cuba.
Oh my god. It's crazy. I disavow this. This is gonna be. I think she's changed.
I hope so, and it is funny that she's talking shit about Elon, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna.
You ready?
Of course.
Are you ready, chat?
And she's a piece of ass.
I'm not even gonna see it first.
Of course.
Are you ready, chat?
And she's a piece of ass.
Did he just say she's a piece of ass?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna.
You ready?
Of course.
Are you ready, chat?
And she's a piece of ass.
Did he just say she's a piece of ass?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna.
You ready?
Of course.
Are you ready, chat?
And she's a piece of ass.
Yeah, she's a piece of ass. Brother in Christ, and Hassan didn't stop it or say something. That's crazy.
I'm not even gonna see it first. Chad's gonna see it before I do.
Okay, this is what I mean. So with peace and love, if there is anything about my past you want to bring up, for the most part, I will talk about it. There is some legal stuff that I can't talk about because I won court cases and I'm not going to talk about it. But if there's something about my past, about the work I've done, I'll talk about it, girls, because I am here to use myself as an example of somebody who's learned. But at the same time, remember that when you put us one-to-one, I haven't done fucking anything compared to all these people. My reputation is so much cleaner than these people. And that's why to this day, I think they can't do shit about it. Because again, like, I'm not that bad of a person, bro. We're all bad, but some people, you know what I mean? 2026 making fucking she's a piece of ass jokes. Are you serious? How does this not play into conservative talking points that Ashley St. Clair is just a slut who's going after her ex? Like, read the room, Hassan Piker. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this, you know, infantilization of Hassan has got to stop. I'm just a guy. I'm just literally a guy, bro. I'm literally like a guy.
Political answer, but it's just true. I don't think of myself as like a famous person. I don't think of myself as like a dangerous radical, obviously. I just want what's best, what I think is best for a society.
Huh.
And that's it.
But you are famous now.
I guess.
No, not you guess. Come on, Hassan. Come on, Hassan. Don't be humble here with us.
Hassan is number one on the call sheet and fighting it. No, just serve the other people first. I'll come
whether you like it or not. Like,
so you know how I say this and people are like, you're just jealous. Okay, is Trevor Noah jealous? So when Brittany Simon says it, she's just a jealous. Okay, is Trevor Noah jealous? Or is he just right? That Hassan is trying to play this fucking game with us and you guys are letting him get away with it because you too want to believe he's just a guy. Just like MAGA wants to believe Trump is just a guy. Okay? Trump is, oh, he's just a guy. That's why I like him. He's not a real politician. That's what you're doing to Hassan. So is Trevor Noah just jealous? Come on now. False humility. Exactly. Chad said the false humility is frustrating. It is such a slap in the face to every person who's put him in this position in hopes that he would advocate for them. It is such a slap in the face for him to say that. And yes, Hassan is basically Joe Rogan without any of the funny joke. Okay, Joe Rogan is not funny. Is this a Joe Rogan fan in chat? Guys, cringe. Okay. No, Hassan is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan does that too. I'm just a guy. Joe Rogan's like, I don't have any say in this like election. I'm just a guy. You're not just a guy. You're not just a guy. Okay, what I mean? You guys gotta lock in. Hassan and Joe Rogan, they're not just guys. And I think only white men could get away with saying this and you guys believe it. Not you guys, my audience, but people believe it. Their audiences believe it. You know why? Because their audiences are all embarrassed millionaires. Hassan's too. Hassan's fans are embarrassed, successful activists or something. I don't even know what they are. But you guys all think you could be Hassan because you're just a guy. I really think there are people in their local communities whose names you will never know who are doing more for the world than Hassan Piker is. And that's because he uses every opportunity, whether you like it or not, to get richer and to remove any responsibility that he has from the fact that he has this microphone every day. And people let him get away with it. Okay? And people let him get away with it because you kind of like his story. You want the dream. You want to be him. And I'm saying, how can you want to be him and not understand how many bad things he had to do to get there? So again, you know, anyways, that. I think I explained it. Yes. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this? Did I explain everything I need to explain? I feel like for my audience, obviously we get it, but you might have some nuanced questions. You know, there are like more, obviously I'm not saying my audience never has questions. I'm saying we know the basics, right? Sexism bad, racism bad, misogyny bad. And now we see how this plays into real life and real life politics, right? And this is why I say a lot of marginalized people look at Hassan with a side eye because of the way he throws people under the bus. You know, Chad said the audience is embarrassed millionaires and Hassan is a compromised activist, and I'm generous in calling him an activist. Chad said if he's just a guy, then they can project onto him and see his wins as his, yeah, exactly. Yeah, or his, exactly. Yeah, 100. Hassan fans are performative socialists. Well, I think like that's the problem, and that's why people call him a champagne socialist. Like, that's the whole dilemma with any criticism we hold in this space. You know what I mean? Like, we're not saying if you believe in white supremacy, then you know you must be unlearning it at all times. If you believe in patriarchy, you must know you must be unlearning it at all times. And I think that's the problem. Like, I think, you know, for a guy who says he believes in these things, he's not unlearning it at all times, you know? Chet says, how do we hold progressive men accountable? Well, I think the dilemma is depending on how much connection or proximity you have to that progressive man. So as an example, like Hassan, example would be like, absolutely do not give him fucking money. If you are supporting Hassan Piker monetarily, you better fucking unsubscribe, girls. Come on now, unsubscribe, right? I would stop giving him money. That's first and foremost. 2, if you talk about him, be fair and precise with your criticisms, of course, because I do think people unfairly also criticize Hassan. And I think they're muddling the waters for people like me. And that's very frustrating that my criticism of Hassan gets equated to like a Destiny's criticism of Hassan when they're not even the same. You know, what do I care about Zionists and MAGA people criticizing Hassan? Like, we can ignore them. But why are you ignoring the people on the left who are criticizing him, right? If it's somebody in your family, then that would be a different kind of accountability. So you hold people accountable in different ways. But right now, ironically enough, we don't have enough power to hold Hassan accountable. He's too powerful. You gotta love the system at play. He is literally too powerful to be held accountable. The irony is insane. So the best we can do is be clear about where I stand. I don't want my work muddled by his misogyny. But yeah, I think he's too powerful. You know? Chet said, do you think he's going to run for president? I don't know. He keeps saying he won't, even in this video with Trevor Noah. I don't know. I don't care. Like, if he does, he does. I wouldn't be surprised, but, you know, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Let me scroll up. Chet said, I didn't fully get the Hassan convo at first, but you've really made it click, especially over the last few vids, and I appreciate that so much, right? Chet says, so this is a philosophy through Pop Culture Channel, right? If there were a named philosopher that would best fit your framework, what would that name be, if any? Sorry, I'm still new to your content. Hold on. If this is a philosophy through Pop Culture Channel, right? If you could name a philosophy that would best fit your framework, well, I guess it would be my own philosophy, because the framework of my philosophy, I don't know what you're asking, what you think you're asking, but I take a philosophical stance that all philosophy is opinion and framework created from the opinions of people. So I think all philosophies have some wisdom, but no philosophy has the answer, right? Chet says they want to know what school of philosophy you adhere to. None. I don't. You want me to identify with a man? Do you want me to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, none, right? Because like, I don't believe in that. That's a trap, right? I think he's asking if you're like a Kantian. Yeah, that's a trap. Identifying with a philosophy is the trap. It's why I hesitate to, it's basically making a prescription, right? And so when you do that, you're saying, now I've limited myself to this framework, which is inherently flawed as it was created by people, right? They said, I think they're asking if you're an absurdist or a nihilist. Yeah, I don't identify with any of those words. Like, you could in certain bubbles, if I jumped into a bubble and I was visiting a bubble, I could say, oh, maybe you could call me this, right? But I think this is the flaw in human beings, right? Because again, identifying with, that's why I don't call myself a vegan, because now, but I'm plant-based and materially a vegan, but I don't call myself a vegan because I'm not sure that I'm ready to take on the responsibility of this label. It would limit me to then advocate for this label, right? And I don't want to, I can't advocate for this label because I don't even know what it means to advocate for veganism, right? If I advocated as a nihilist, like, it wouldn't even make sense. Like, Britt Hartley calls herself a nihilist. I don't call myself a nihilist. But Britt Hartley does, because I do identify as an atheist, but only because that's the best way to communicate with you. But that even doesn't do it justice, you know? So does that make sense? But I think I always struggle with these sort of questions because, again, there's only a few labels that I will take on the responsibility of that make sense for me because I know how to advocate for them. I don't know how to advocate for most of the labels because none of them quite feel correct because they're made up by people. We just make them up. We make them up and say, hey, do you identify with this word I made up? Sometimes, not really, right? Chad said, wouldn't pre-culture, which simply means marrying natural systems, be philosophy of nature itself? I mean, I guess it depends on how you categorize it, right? And it all comes down to categorization, right? Chad said, I appreciate you very much for this. Your videos have really helped me accept myself as smart enough to like philosophy. I felt kept out of it because I didn't identify with a specific guy. For sure, bro. That's the trap of also, I think, Western philosophy. Is Western philosophy makes you say like, but how do you identify? Tell us your thought process so they can shortcut where you're coming from. But if I say to you, I'm a leftist, that doesn't really tell you who I am. It tells you a little bit, but it's not even enough. Like, I will say I'm a leftist, but you see how that still doesn't even tell you who I am? So it's good enough, but I haven't found a philosophical framework that I feel comfortable identifying with in the same way that I could politically. Because politics are so black and white, it's a lot easier. But philosophy is so loosey-goosey that I'm not about to give you a black and white construct for it, right? Chad said, do you privately categorize yourself to protect a view of yourself closest to? No. If anything, privately, I'm no category or label. Privately, I don't even think I exist. Which I guess I just said publicly. But privately, I don't even think I'm a me. Like, I think we're all just, like, we don't even exist. But see how that makes no sense? You can't bring that framework to the public because they're like, the fuck? And that sounds dismissive of marginalized people who have suffered. But no, in my most private of home, I don't even exist. I'm just here. So, like, and there's no I to be here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Chet said, let's see. The world is so structured around labels that people cannot understand when we deconstruct language that does not adhere to labels. And look, I love a label. Do not get me wrong. I love a label. I love a label when it's helpful. I do not like a label when it's not helpful. Right? So, like, if the label helps you, use it. Like, I'm plant-based, that label is helpful. I'm queer, that label is helpful. I'm an atheist, that label is very helpful to me. I'm gender fluid, that label is really helpful to me. So pick a label that works for you, but there is no philosophical label that works for me, so I don't use any. If I find one that works, I'll use it. So that's how I look at labels, right? If you want to label yourself a man or a woman, great. If you want to label yourself a Christian or a Catholic, great. If you want to label yourself a Muslim, great. Like, if the label helps you, use it. I just don't have a label philosophically that helps me, you know? But I love a label. I don't want to be one of those girls who like, I hate labels. No, I love labels. I just also love accurate labels and proper categorization. So, yeah. Does that make sense? I am not an anti-label girly. You know what I mean? I'm not an anti-label girly at all, right? Which naked statue of a bearded man most reflects your brain? Hilarious, literally hilarious. I get it. Like, I do understand the need for it. If I find a label, I will share it with you guys in the future. I just don't adhere to one right now, if that helps. Yeah. Okay, any last questions before we take a break and come back? Or how about this? Let's go ahead and take a break, and when I come back, I'll look for questions. That will be easier, okay? So I'll be right back, and then we'll get to the other part of stream I want to get to, which is about being a girl's girl, and we'll talk about it, okay? Okay. I just ate a chocolate bar, so my teeth might be chocolatey. Okay. Da 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 da. Pausing music in 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Let me do this. Let me make sure I went over everything because I might have missed something. Hold on. Okay. Okay. I already did this. I did this. I did this. I did this. We went over this. We went over this. We went over this. We went over this. Went over this. Went over this. Okay, like this comment here, just in case, like, damn, a half hour of bullshit. Hassan was more rude to Patrick, Bet David, and Ian, Miles Chung, than Ashley. It's like, yeah, but like, that's not the same thing, right? It's about punching down, not punching down. Let's say Kyle Kalinske. This, we went over this, went over this, went over this, went over this, went over this. Okay, I think we did do it. Look at us, we're so good at our job. Okay, now, separate from all of that, but also I thought this video might be interesting. I saw a TikTok on it, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go see this girl's YouTube channel to see the whole video. Let's talk about why I stopped calling myself a girl's girl. Not me, her. Because very interesting already, very intrigued. Okay, girly, big channel, mid-sized channel. Interesting TikTok brought me here. Let's watch it together. I haven't watched it yet. Just saw the TikTok. I'll 1.2 it like normal. Very interested in this discourse, you know? It'll be good. Wait, what is this? How do you feel about the prominent leftist journalist who shall not be named? Why not? Recently coming out in support of AI? Who? AI who? Who? I don't know anything about that. Who? Who? AI how? AI what? Who? In support? Like support of AI? Like who? Taylor Lorenz. Did she? In support of AI? Well, I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions, I guess. I don't know what that means. Like, okay.
Not a girl's girl.
Okay, that is a crazy transition.
I am not a girl's girl.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
Before you guys click off this video, let me explain. I think I have like a genuine physical, visceral reaction to every single time I hear someone use the term girl's girl. And for like the longest time, I couldn't articulate why. Like I just didn't know why that term bothered me so much, but it does. Let's get into it, guys. Because to say I'm not a girl's girl and to even question that feels like this horrible crime. You might as well just get on stage and announce that you hate all women. But first, we need to backtrack a little bit and define the term girl's girl for everyone.
Who the hell do you think you are?
So the term girl's girl didn't emerge out of nowhere. She was born as the opposite of pick me. And if you somehow missed that entire era of the internet, lucky you. The pick me girl was supposedly a woman that put other women down to gain male approval. It was that girl that just says, I get along better with guys. She doesn't wear that much makeup.
If she doesn't mention the black community, this video's a fail.
It's like a natural girl, you know? And most of all, she's just not like other girls. And look, pick-me's are real. I have met a couple of pick-me's in my lifetime. I'm sure everyone has. They absolutely exist. I would honestly argue that most women go through a pick-me phase in their teenage years. Your hormones are calibrating, you're adjusting to the male population for the first time, and you just end up doing weird, embarrassing things to be noticed. And I think that's honestly a pretty normal part of just growing up. Most of us just cringe about it later and move on. But the internet does not move on.
The internet never moves on.
Miss Jackson! What happened next is what always happens with internet discourse. The concept expanded and expanded and expanded until pick me stopped meaning women that undermines other women and started meaning any woman that doesn't perform female solidarity and femininity in the exact way that the internet has deemed correct. And on the other side of the coin, the girl's girl became the gold standard, the aspirational identity, the right way to be a girl. So now we have a binary. You're either a girl's girl, which makes you good, supportive, trustworthy, a real one, authentic.
she's saying girls girl in the modern Gen Z way, not in the historical context way.
Authentic, you're a real woman, or you're a pick-me, which means you're a sellout, a traitor, a man lover, a whore, basically just the worst kind of girl ever. And the threshold for falling on the wrong side of the line is remarkably, almost comically low. You don't want to share where you got your boots. Pick me made a joke that was even mildly critical of women as a group. You're a pick me, not a girl's girl. Are you a private, competitive, or even a blunt person? You're a pick me. We have created a sorting mechanism for women, and the criteria is, are you agreeable enough? The way the internet uses girl's girl has nothing to do with supporting women and everything to do with controlling them. So I remember seeing this TikTok a while back, and I'll put it up here.
I had one of the most unhinged interactions with a girl that I've had in a long time today. And it's just so weird to me because I think I forget that not every girl is a girl's girl.
Essentially, there's this woman at a market in Silver Lake. She sees another woman wearing these cowboy boots. She goes up to her, asks, where do your boots? And the other woman says, I don't want to tell you.
I would have never done this. Yeah, this was actually pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. But you know what's so funny? Do you remember that girl? I don't remember her name now. Old school YouTube, there used to be this girl who would cosplay as Ariel, and she had really, really amazing bright red hair. And people would ask her like, hey, where do you get your hair color? And she's like, I can't share exactly because it's my signature look and I don't want to share. P.S. Can I just say to you, this is why I don't like the idea. No, wait, Brittany, hold on. Okay, no. Okay, well, listen. This is why I don't care about taking credit for my successes, and I want to realize that there is an intersection at play here. So people in privileged positions who gatekeep are not the same thing as marginalized people wanting credit for their hard work. So this attachment to wanting to hoard or keep something, or, hey, get credit for something, is in one bubble. And then there's another bubble, it's ego. And the other bubble is justice. Okay? So when the girl says like, oh, it's my signature look and I don't want you to capitalize on it, or these boots are, I don't want anyone else to have these boots because I want to be unique, that's ego. When somebody says, hey, the internet is attributing this to somebody else, but I said it, I would like credit. They're saying, like Cat Black had this problem happen recently where as a Black woman and a trans woman, somebody took her quote and like gave it credit, didn't give her the credit. And she was like, I would like credit for this, please. And that is a form of justice seeking, which we would not have to do in an ideal world, but given the situation, you know what I mean? Which is different than a girl saying, I don't want you to know where my boots are because I want to be the only one who has it. These are different. Okay. Ultimately, hopefully, all of us would reach a point where we were not attached to the ego part of it. But, you know, so that was a weird TikTok when I saw it. I was like, girly, it's just boots, relax. But that's the difference. It's like, usually it's very common for girls to be in spaces where like, oh my God, where did you get that? Like, please let me know. I want it too. And most girlies would be like, oh my God, yeah, this is where I got it. So to come across somebody who would gatekeep it is like, what's that about? And I do think it's a trickle down from capitalism because it's a status seeking behavior. Wanting to be the only one who has something is status seeking behavior. And so again, like if you deconstruct status seeking behavior, then really what does it matter if both of you have the same thing?
I would have never done this. This interaction gets posted onto TikTok. It gets like over 7 million views. And everyone just unanimously decided that the girl that didn't want to share where she bought her boots from was evil, was a pick-me, was like the scum of the fucking earth, and ultimately was not a girl's girl. And within days, even brands hopped onto this. The boots, I think, were just from Urban Outfitters. And Urban Outfitters...
That's even more pathetic, though. That's even worse. Oh, I can't tell you where I got these boots, Walmart. Like, that's even worse. That's what I'm saying. Like, what community part of this is... How is this a community effort? Like, why are you gatekeeping Urban Outfitters? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even make sense. It was just like, it's just like, it's all around silly.
Brand completely rebranded around this moment. Urban Outfitters sent out promo text, no gatekeeping here. Like, a woman's minor social boundary became a whole marketing campaign.
Well, philosophically speaking, it wasn't a boundary. It was an ego inflation move, right? So philosophically speaking, I think she engaged in a philosophical evil. She denied a community member a shared joy, and she gatekeeped it for what reason? Like, what was the reason you didn't share it? Do you know what I'm saying? So I actually think it was a philosophical evil.
This is where it gets interesting to me, because when you ask,
did she deserve to be bullied or anything? No, like that doesn't help. Like piling on bullying doesn't matter. But in an ideal society, also she wouldn't have I wouldn't have considered this a boundary.
She lists out what being a girl's girl requires. When you strip away like the branding, the TikToks, the snarky comments, the checklist looks like this. Be generous, be supportive, be not competitive, be warm, be accommodating, never be publicly critical of another woman, always uplift, always share, always hype.
No, a girl's girl is somebody who recognizes that patriarchy at play is in existence, and we need to protect the girls against oppression of systems. So I actually think of being a girl's girl as that. It is not superficial. It is not something for funsies. A girl's girl is somebody who, regardless of how the women act, we protect them from patriarchy, which is why I defended Ashley St. Clair against Hassan, because ultimately, like, patriarchy is at play, and his justification and entitlement of talking badly about her in that context. So this is why I say, when you water shit down, like, when Black communities create terminology that comes from a real observation they made at the expense of their community, like pick-me's or like Karens, and then white people get a hold of it and water it down to be annoying white woman instead of what it really is, which is like a threatening character in the neighborhood who come at the expense of the people in that neighborhood. Yeah, I think you miss the point, but I think that's the difference between politically motivated, philosophically motivated people who do the research and the people who are just moving off of trends, which is to be expected, right? It is to be expected that people on TikTok just go with it. Like the sounds of the saxophone thing that's trending on TikTok right now. Yeah, like you don't have to know where it's from to understand the social implication, but also it's fine that Black TikTokers are upset that white people are using that sound, because it's like you don't even know where it comes from. You're using it. It's annoying. You know what I mean? And so I get it. And like, how many people are going to go out and watch the movie, right? And so it's like one of those things where I think I think it's like, are you willing to educate yourself on this thing? But that's why I think, okay, and this is what I say to everybody. I understand why communities gatekeep, right? Communities gatekeep, because it's like precious. I don't understand why people are gatekeeping boots from Urban Outfitters, because there's nothing precious about that. But I can see why. I like that FD recently said, it cracks me up every time you think about it. No white people at the cookout until socialism. I think that's a boundary setter. See, that's a boundary set. That's protecting the community. That's a boundary. A boundary is not telling you where you got your boots from. A boundary is saying, Now, I can understand if a marginalized community had a fashion statement in their community, which we've seen before. Look at, what do they call it? A cloud bob? A cloud bob? Did you guys see that? Instead of an afro, a cloud bob? It's like, what the fuck is a cloud bob? And it's taking something that's so powerful and rebranding it to be more digestible. I can understand why people want to gatekeep their community's thing, you know, because it's like, what did you call me? What did you say? And that I think is at play here. So anyways, okay, all of that to say, okay.
Now, I want you to listen to that list again and tell me that just isn't a repackaged version of every expectation that the patriarchy has imposed on women for centuries, because that is the list. It's,
well, if the women haven't deconstructed and internalized misogyny and patriarchy, they will enact it on other women. Listen to me when I say this. Women who haven't deconstructed patriarchy can be ruthless. Actually, the ThoughtSpot had a video about this as well. And the body of the work is really, really good. The title makes you think she's going to make some sort of like misogynistic talking point, sexist talking point, because it's like, oh, hold on, let me look up the video. I just watched it the other day and I was like, oh, this is a good video. The title throws you off, but it is very eye-catching. Hold on. This one says, why female social dynamics genuinely terrify me as an autistic woman. It's for like killer views, because it's a great catchy title. It does make it sound a little bit like she's going to say something, you know, bad about women in a way that's bad, but it's actually a really good video. So I do recommend it. I'll even link it. You know what I mean? But
love and care.
I think the point of Irene's video is just that the women who haven't deconstructed patriarchy end up still utilizing patriarchal propaganda in their friendships, you know? So I think that's the statement I think this lady is making too. Who is this girl I just met? Lindsay? Lindsay Ann. I think that's the statement she's making too, but I wouldn't then say I'm not a girl's girl, because to me that's letting patriarchy win. Like I'm still a girl's girl, but you know what I am too? I'm a gender deconstructionist. So I think gender is a performance. And I'm saying as long as you're performing girl, I'm especially going to protect you when patriarchy is so real and so loud. And I'm going to call you out for your bullshit too, but not because you're a woman, but because you did something wrong. Because as long as you're a girl, patriarchy will hate you for simply existing.
Always been the list. Be nice, be pleasant, be agreeable, don't be too much, don't make waves, definitely don't be difficult. Women have been conditioned into agreeableness for so long that it's basically just like ingrained in our freaking firmware at this point. And what the girls girl era has done to that conditioning, which we should have been interrogating in the first place, which feminism was supposed to actually help us unlearn, turned it into an identity, a feminist identity no less. So if anyone ever pushes back on just expectation that should be endlessly warm and generous and accommodating to women at all times, you're not just being rude, you're being anti-feminist. You're failing the sisterhood. You're not a girl's girl. And that's where it gets good. You can't critique the expectation of agreeableness without being disagreeable. And being disagreeable is the one thing that kicks you out of the sisterhood. And what's wild is who's actually enforcing this. Because it's not men, it's women.
You cannot be for real. Oh my God, you for real.
The girls girl framework has essentially outsourced patriarchal policing to women themselves. We have become our own oppressors, guys. Think back to the cowboy boots lady, okay? She didn't insult anyone. She didn't compete with anyone. She didn't tear anyone down. She just said, no, I don't want to tell you where my boots are from. And yes, maybe that wasn't the super friendly or super socially acceptable thing to say, but she had a boundary. And the punishment for that wasn't anything from men. It was from thousands of women who essentially just called her a pick-me and not a girl's girl. Like when you fix a stranger's hair in the bathroom, when you bond with your girlfriends at the club, when you tell a girl that her outfit looks amazing, these are lovely gestures, genuinely. But the moment that these gestures become mandatory, the moment a woman is punished for not performing them, you're not describing solidarity. What that is just compliance.
Okay. Hold on. There's something there that she threw a lot at me. Okay. I think what the boot lady did was wrong. I think she was wrong. And the reason people were upset about it, maybe for bad or good reasons, I don't know. But I do think she was wrong. So is she making the argument that she was right? Because I feel like she's wrong. On every front, on an anti-capitalist front, it's wrong. On a feminist front, it's wrong. On a philosophical humility front, it's wrong. Like she should not be bullied because she was wrong though. Like being wrong doesn't mean you should be hurt, right? But I think the reason it upset people is because it was wrong. It just wasn't, there was no justification for it except, to say that it's her right to be wrong. And that's okay. Right? But, yeah, no, the boot lady, we don't have to guess about why her reasoning was. The woman said it was because she didn't want other people to have it. That's literally what she said. Here, wait, I can go find the original TikTok because I remember the TikTok. And maybe, yes. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think so. Hold on. Boot woman, girl's girl. Let me see.
And then she had her.
Let's see.
I had one of the most.
Let's see if we remember the TikTok. Let's watch it. Let's just get the context.
Unhinged interactions with a girl that I've had in a long time today. And it's just so weird to me because I think I forget that not every girl is a girl's girl because I'm definitely a girl's girl. All my friends are girls. And so it's weird to me when I meet a girl that's not. So I was at the Silver Lake Flea Market today. For the past few months, I have been looking for very specifically vintage cowboy boots.
Ooh, I think she has a high humming in her recorder. So it's triggering my autism already. But like, if you guys hear it, it's not me, it's her.
With a heel on, similar to like vintage Christian Dior or Bum Run. They're just very hard to find. And I saw this girl today and she was wearing this killer outfit, super cute little crop with these like baggy jeans. And then she had her pants tucked into the coolest rhinestone cowboy boots. They were circa 2000s. They're perfection. So I went up to her and I was like, girl, your fit is fitting. You look amazing. I've been looking for boots just like that. Where did you get them? And what brand are they? First of all, she acted like I was attacking her. I was like, oh, hey girl. She was like, And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to like startle you. And she was like, oh, it's fine. She was like with her, I guess, boyfriend or something. And she's like, my cowboy boots? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, these boots? And in my brain, I'm thinking, no, bitch, the boots on your hands. But, you know, I want to find out where these boots are from. So I'm like, yeah, the ones you're wearing. And she was like, oh, yeah, they're cool, right? And I was like, yeah, they're amazing. Like, I've been looking for boots like that forever. And she's like, yeah, see, the thing about these boots, can't really say. And I was like, you can't really say what? My fucking wait went out, whatever. She's like, yeah, I can't say where I got them. I was like, oh, you don't remember? And she's like, no, I know where I got them. No, like I know where I got them. Okay, so are your boots in the witness protection program? Like, what's the deal? And she's like, yeah, it's just, you know, I've told people before where I've gotten things because, you know, like people always ask me because of my style. And I really just hate when I see other people in LA with the same things as me. Girl, there's like 4 million people in LA. What you talking about? And I was like, oh, okay, well, I promise I won't wear them on the same days as you. And she's like, yeah, but like, how would you know when I'm wearing them? What the fuck? Oh, so you want to gatekeep the cowboy boots? And she was like, I just, you know, I don't want other people to have the same boots as me. And I was like, well, statistically speaking, unless those are one of one, there are people out there that have the same boots as you. Just don't know about them. And she was like, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay. So then I'm like, all right, cool, no worries. And I took my phone out because I was like, I'm just going to take a photo of them and reverse Google image them when she walks away. And her boyfriend was like, Ella, just tell her where you got your stupid boots. And she's like, no, Rod. See, you're never on my side. You hate when I live my truth. And this is a boundary for me. And my boundary is that I don't like telling people where I got my stuff.
It almost sounds fake. Like it literally almost sounds like a fake story. But for the premise of watching this video essay, we'll pretend it's a real story. But it almost sounds fake.
I think that's how boundaries work, but okay. And so I'm like, I'm gonna leave you guys alone now. So I'm like backing up, trying to take a photo, and they're like fully arguing. And Rod's like, just tell her. And he's like, to me, he's like, wait, she's gonna tell you where you got these boots. And I'm like, no, Rod, not really my style anyways. And I walked away. But I did get a photo of them, and I will be reverse Google imaging them, and I will be getting those boots, and I will be going back to that market, and I will be wearing them on this.
Okay. It's like a silly story. It almost feels weird, like a fake. Right? It almost feels fake. And I don't really love this woman's energy, to be honest, but I think the story stands. Like, I do think there was something wrong in that social interaction. I think a lot of things went wrong in that social interaction. You know what I mean? So, do you know what I'm saying? So I think it's interesting that this video essayist is like, this woman just put down a boundary, but she didn't just put down a boundary. There was like a lot of layers to that story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and Chad said, I think it's for comedy. Yeah, I think the woman telling the story is trying to be comedic, but it's I don't love the comedy of it, but it is the TikTok voice. But anyway, so interesting for this.
Punished for not.
So let's watch this again.
No, I don't want patriarchal policing to women themselves. We have become our own oppressors, guys. Think back to the cowboy boots lady, okay? She didn't insult anyone. She didn't compete with anyone. She didn't tear anyone down. She just said, no, I don't want to tell you where my boots are from. And yes, maybe that wasn't the super friendly or super socially acceptable thing to say, but she had a boundary. And the punishment for that wasn't anything from men. It was from thousands of women who essentially just called her a pick-me and not a girl's girl. Like when you fix a stranger's hair in the bathroom, when you bond with your girlfriends at the club, when you tell a girl that her outfit looks amazing. These are lovely gestures, genuinely. But the moment that these gestures become mandatory, the moment a woman is punished for not performing them, you're not describing solidarity. What that is just compliance.
Yeah, I just don't agree with that premise. So it impacts the way I see the video. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, when I say this again, I say this with everything. If your leftism or your progressivism or your beliefs are dictated on how people act in the group, they're not your beliefs. I don't care how many women are bitchy when they're girls. I'm still a girl's girl. Me being a girl's girl doesn't change the fact that I'm a girl's girl because other people are acting badly. Okay? Like, it's just not, they're not related. So the fact that people are like, I'm no longer a feminist, which by the way, I went through that phase too, by the way. I got so beaten down by a group of girls. I was like, I'm no longer a feminist. This was a long time ago. Obviously, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. I'm not going to let some bullies keep me away from my liberation. And so like, I've already gone through this phase as well when I was younger, where I was like, I'm going to denounce this label because da-da-da-da. Listen to me when I say this, girlies. Liberation for all of us, period, the end, okay? So, yeah, like I don't know. Okay, let's watch.
And here's the part that I actually find quite funny. The entire premise of a girl's girl is that she centers women. She puts women first. She's moved past the petty, man-obsessed.
Well, Chet's right. Chet says, I don't think you need to have a good reason to say no because of bodily autonomy. I agree she doesn't have to have a good reason, but I also agree she did a bad thing. Like, it's not always a good thing because again, she wasn't gatekeeping her body. She was gatekeeping consumerism. She was gatekeeping a brand. She was gatekeeping fashion. She's not gatekeeping her body. You know what I mean? She has autonomy in her own choices. But it's not like, yeah, it sounds like I left the left stories. That's what I mean. Exactly what it sounds like. Like, oh, I left the left because they were mean. You know what I mean? It's like, girl, you know what I mean? I'm not going to leave the left, right? So again, like, I think it was rude. And I would, if you ever came up to me and you asked me where I got something, I'll tell you. Okay? How about that?
Era of the pick me movement and is now focused on what matters most, women supporting women. But look at what a girl's girl actually does. Look at what earns you that title. You help your friends get ready for a night out, but you're getting ready for what? For whom? You share your beauty secrets, but beauty by what standards? You don't steal someone's man, which frames women as inherent threats in a competition that is by definition organized around male attention. So much of what earns someone a girl's girl status is still focused around attractiveness, desirability, and the rules of heterosexual dating, like the cowboy boot drama. If you like strip away the girlhood solidarity language, what it's really about is style, not willing to share her style. And style is looking good. So it's really just about the currency of being attractive and whether you're willing to share your cheat codes. And who gets called not a girl's girl most often? Women who are competitive, women who are blunt, who are private.
Well, because those women are often, well, hold on. Oh, there's too many layers to this. Oh no. There's too many layers to this. Yeah, I do agree with you, Chad, that it could be a form of entitlement to also assume she has to tell you where the boots are from. I can see that. I don't think in the social context it would have been the same, but I could see why that might be like from a certain perspective, like tell me where this is from. And it's like, I don't have to tell you shit. Like I could see that too. I feel like there's a lot of layers here, but I think for the sake of her video, which is only 12 minutes long, she's trying to pack it all in. So
women who aren't necessarily super warm. In other words, women who don't necessarily.
But from a community perspective, it's wrong. If you believe in individuality, Boots Lady is right. If you believe in community, she's wrong. Because the community cannot feel entitled to you sharing good things. Like it is not entitlement for the community to share. If you're an individualistic person, then yes, it is entitlement. So in this context, you know what I mean? So there's that.
They make themselves easy to be around, which has always been the requirement, right? Be easy, be pleasant, don't be a problem. The whole girls' girl prison is still just.
Well, okay, hold on, girls. Patriarchy teaches women to be competitive against each other for the sake of a man. So the reason that the girls' girl rose to prominence was to fight patriarchy. But just because you're not well read in like philosophical frameworks, especially political ones, doesn't mean that you won't accidentally misuse or bring patriarchy into your feminism. That's why like girl boss feminism. Oh my God, I was just talking to my partner about this today. Girl boss feminism says women can kill Arabs too. Women want to join the military to kill Arabs too. Let us join the military to kill Arabs. And I'm like, nobody should be killing Arabs. Like, nobody should be killing anybody. Everybody stop. And like, that's the point is like, that's why we have to advance our feminism. That's why we do intersectional feminism, right? We have first wave, third wave, second wave. We have different waves of feminism. So yes, like we want trans people to serve in the military, but I swear to God, if any of you people sign up, don't you dare sign up for the military. You know what I'm saying? So when we have this conversation, you know what I mean? I think there's something at play here, right? Chad said community doesn't trump bodily autonomy for me, which also includes sharing information. She found those boots. Oh, I think I'm the opposite then. I think we probably disagree with this. That I would say neither trumps either. It's just situational and contextual. And because I am, community, but not at the expense of self, but not at the expense of the community. I do not think this woman's self was coming at the expense of the community by sharing. It was a superficial reason. Her reason was shallow. Her reason was silly. Her reason was, and honestly, look, if this was a white woman gatekeeping boots from a black or brown woman, what if she just didn't want to see her boots on a black girl? I don't know that this woman wasn't white. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are layers to this. There is a good chance that a lot of white people gatekeep fashion because they don't want black people to own it. Once black people take over white fashion changes because they don't want black people in it. That's what I'm saying. So like, we're watching a TikTok of a black and brown woman, right? I think she's black, but I don't, maybe she's mixed. But like, so I don't know. I don't know the complete social context of this, but to me, it reads as a brown woman is asking for, a black woman is asking for, right? Where you got something. And by the way she's talking, it did sound like a white girl voice. So I was like, that's the only reason where I'm like, why are you gatekeeping? There's layers to this for sure. We don't know.
About making women palatable. And then there's a part where all this becomes a product, because of course it did. The Girls Girl quickly became a social identity to a brand identity. Influencers, brands, they started selling Girls Girl totes, Girls Girls merch, shirts, hats. It was like the same energy that they used to sell feminist merch 5 years ago. Girls Girl became absorbed by this content machine, and it became an aesthetic, it became a content category, it became a very distinct trope online. Someone I saw described it as kitsch feminist slop. That's pretty good, because that's exactly what it is. It's essentially just feel-good feminism. It looks like solidarity, it sounds like solidarity. It is, in practice, a marketing strategy. And this matters because it replaces substance with performance. When supporting women gets reduced down to sharing where you got your boots from and complimenting strangers' outfits, the definition of solidarity shrinks until it's almost meaningless. You don't have to change anything structural. You don't have to sit with disagreement or complexity. You just have to be nice and share where you got your clothes from.
What the hell is that?
A dress.
Says who?
Calvin Klein.
So I want to be clear about something, because
Calvin
if you're only
Klein.
half listening to this, you probably hate me at this point. I'm not making the argument that women should just be mean to each other
Yeah, blame capitalism, not girls. Blame capitalism and patriarchy.
and see each other as threats and not help each other out and just be super ultra competitive. Of course not. I'm definitely not nostalgic for an era when women tore each other down for male attention, and I'm not like other girls was such a dominant personality trait. We all agree that was bad. But I just think that we overcorrected into something that also is bad.
For sure. But the overcorrection, though, is not calling yourself a girl's girl. So for her to say why I stopped calling myself a girl's girl is actually the wrong overcorrection. So my argument to her is you overcorrected by denouncing it, just like I overcorrected by calling myself not a feminist. And then I came back to saying like, okay, I'm philosophically a feminist 100%. Politically a feminist, I don't want to get into the weeds, but intersectional feminist politically. But I'm philosophically a feminist first and foremost, right? So like she overcorrected by saying she's no longer calling herself a girl's girl, in my opinion.
But it's just a harder thing to verbalize and articulate because it's like a feminist identity at this point. Here's what really bothers me about being a girl's girl. You have to do things like this. Share your lip gloss in a club bathroom. Tell a stranger her outfit is cute. Hype someone up in Instagram.
You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to do any of that. I've never felt that way. That's a requirement of being a girl's girl. So I'm like, okay, what bubble are you in? Who are you around? Why do you feel that way? Because being a girl's girl is not being fake. It's about standing up for women against patriarchy, in my opinion. So I never thought about it as being fake. I had a really great girl's girl moment in Croatia. I was in the bathroom and these two girls pointed at me and started saying nice things. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I don't speak Croatian. And which now I can't speak enough Croatian to say I don't speak Croatian, you know, but I was like, oh my God. And they were like, oh, and they switched to English really fast. And then we started complimenting each other. And I was like, well, me, what about you? Because like I always try to compliment authentically. I never try to fake compliment. It's a very important value of mine that I only give compliments that are real. So Irene talked about this in her autism as an autism girl video. She basically said that sometimes girls will compliment her and she won't compliment them back because she doesn't realize she has to. And then people can get mad at her. I've never had that situation happen, but I'm sure it exists. And when that happens, the question isn't about them complimenting as a girl. It's a values difference. So like there might be a social script in which this occurs. But I've always been able to also compliment organically anyways. Like, because the truth is like, I will always find something to say about people that are nice. It's very easy for me to be nice to people. So I also utilize that skill, but I made a vow to myself. Guys, I distinctly remember making a vow to myself in my early 20s that I would always find a way to brighten someone's day by complimenting something true about them. And I worked in grocery at the time, and I would purposely find a way to find something I liked about somebody to make their day better. And the way people were it changed their whole demeanor. Like people who were like this, I'd be like, oh my God, this headband of yours, that blue looks so good on you. And it would be a real compliment. The way their whole day would just like change, like you could transform someone's whole day by giving a real compliment, not a fake one, not a bullshit one, a true. And if I couldn't find a real compliment, I wouldn't compliment. Right? If I couldn't find a real compliment, I'd mind my business. But if I found a real thing to say something nice to somebody, I do it. Yeah. I do it because like it just like it really can change a whole person's day. And if I can do that by just saying 2 words, I'll do it. Right? But again, only if it's organic. And I think what this girl is dealing with, what I think Irene has dealt with, is probably not organic compliments. So then it feels, you know, like you're pushing, you know. Chet said, I'm so afraid of bothering people. Well, and to be fair, I've had that done. I've done that in Croatia where I've tried to compliment people and they couldn't understand me and it was really awkward. So what I do is I usually wait till we're already in conversation or there's like a reason to compliment, and then it makes it a little socially easier. But I'm not looking for it. I'm not like, must compliment somebody today. I'm more like, if the opportunity comes up and it works out, I'll do it. You know?
Comments, sharing where you got your freaking cowboy boots. And that's it. That is literally the bar. That is what supporting women has come to. Surface level pleasantries. These are like micro gestures of solidarity that cost you nothing. And look, these things are nice. They're good. They make you feel good. Obviously, it feels nice when someone compliments you on the street.
It does. Well, hold on, chat. Explain this to me though, right? You said, I think women needing to be kind is sexist. Yes, that's true. But women, okay. Not sharing boots isn't harm, you said, but again, philosophical harm can come in all forms. So yes, women needing to be kind because they're women is patriarchal, but you choosing not to be kind because you're a woman is just rude. And it's a bad community member gesture. We're not entitled to your kindness, but fuck, you also aren't entitled to being rude. You can't be entitled to being rude and call yourself a good person. You are not entitled to rudeness if you are a community member, you know? And so I don't understand why we're lacking the nuance in this balance of like, is our goal not to be kinder and to be loving and to be, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying women are like, you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be a level of this where I don't want to live in a world where people are like, well, I get to be rude today. It's like, okay, you don't get to be rude. Like, you can, I understand, be perceived as rude when you're not, which sucks. I understand that people look at you and say like, smile more. And that's so frustrating, right? Yeah. Kindness isn't transactional. Exactly. Right. You said, I think that third thing exists, being yourself, but not kind and not rude. I agree. But some people are just okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I can agree to that. Right. Like, again, we wonder why the world is the way that it is because it's us as a whole. And I just couldn't imagine somebody coming up to me and saying nice things, asking me where I got something, and me just saying no. Like, I just couldn't imagine being that person. And it feels like, what is the justification for this? Like, oh, that's just who I am. Like, that's not a justification. That's a neglect of responsibility. You know? So, you know, I don't know the justification in the social situation of understanding, especially given the story or context, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I guess for me, I'm always just trying to harm reduce as much as possible. And I just, you know, right? You said, I agree, Britt. I just want to make space. Yeah, for sure. We always want to make space for people who don't want to overperform. And I would never suggest that. And that's why I suggest Irene's video as well, because Irene goes into, especially as an autistic woman, this need to perform and how she doesn't want to have to. And I think that that takes a requirement of also us understanding each other in the first place, right? So this Boots lady took no effort to understand the person asking her the question. You know, Chaz said, I think it's important for people to be able to say no, even to things that aren't harmful to them. Yeah, no is a complete sentence, but she didn't, just for the record, she didn't say no. Right? No is a complete sentence. I fully believe this. She explained why she's gatekeeping, and the answer is wrong. Right? So again, if she just said, oh, no, thank you, and then walked away, sure, it's a weird circumstance, but like, no is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. With that said, it's not always the appropriate way to respond. Do you know what I'm saying? So if I go to my partner and I'm married and I say, hey, can I talk to you? And they go, no. And then they walk away. No, that's not allowed. Because I'm married to you. You have to tell me why we're not talking. No is not a complete sentence in this context. But in some circumstances, of course, no is a complete sentence, like a no, right? You know? So sometimes I feel like because we're seeking liberation after unlearning a lot of the behavior that we feel like we've been made to feel we have to do, sometimes I think we take too rebellious of a overcorrection, like this lady is saying, right? to sort of be like, oh, well, I'm not going to answer just because you asked. And I'm here for it. It's a learning thing. Like I said, this girl saying why I stopped calling myself a girl's girl, like ultimately calling it why I called myself, like this is ultimately playing more into patriarchy in the end. Right? Just like I think Irene's title is honestly playing into patriarchy, even though the body of the work is better. I wouldn't have titled it this way. Why female social dynamics genuinely terrify me. This plays into patriarchy. It plays into misogyny. And you know how much I love Irene. She's a friend of mine. But this plays into patriarchy. And that's also why I got so many views, right? This plays into patriarchy. Look how many views it got. 247,000. This title plays into patriarchy, whether we like it or not. Also interesting that they're both Asian, but like, you know what I'm saying? So I just, again, like, I'm not saying these girls are bad. I love Irene. You know I do. I don't know this lady, but I'm sure she's great. But whether we like it or not, the title structure is going to appeal to a very certain type of person.
Not mad at anyone for being kind in a bathroom, but I feel like
But I liked the video. Like chat said, Irene's video made me cringe. I thought the video was great. The video was great. If you can get past the title, I think the video was really vulnerable and important. But I think the title, even the title threw me off, where I was like, what is this title? And then I watched it and I was like, Irene, this is a great video. The video is good. But the title was like, yeah, it was rough. But, you know.
Confuse these tiny micro moments of support with real support. And they're definitely just not the same thing. You know what actually looks like to support women? It looks like showing up for your friend when her relationship is falling apart. Not just in the first week, but in month freaking 5. And she's still
Julia Roberts is so pretty. Oh my God.
Over him. It's advocating for women at work who are still underpaid, even if that's inconvenient for you. It looks like having hard, honest conversations with your friend when they're fucking up, instead of just gassing them up when they really need to hear the truth. It looks like fighting for maternal rights, reproductive rights, real shit. This stuff like doesn't just fit into a TikTok. The work is unglamorous, it's uncomfortable, it's hard, it takes a lot of freaking time, and it usually doesn't come with a bunch of praise, a title. It doesn't come with, the glory of being a freaking girl's girl.
What's wrong with Irene's title? Hold on, you said what's bad about Irene's title? I think she did a better job of not playing into patriarchy. There is a stereotype in the patriarchy that women are actually more vicious as friends, that a lot of centrist women, liberal women play into, that like women, my mom used to say this. My mom used to say, oh, I don't have a lot of women friends because women, they backstab, they gossip, they do all these things. I was like, Mom, your best friends are women. And she goes, what do you mean? I go, all your friends are women. You don't even have any guy friends. And she goes, yeah, but I mean other women. I was like, Mom, just because other women have been mean to you doesn't mean you don't have women friends. There's a phase we all go through where it's like, all my friends are guys. Like all my friends are guys, because girls are gossipy and backstabby. But it's like, that is just a patriarchal talking point. Like Irene and I are friends, right? Irene and I are friends. We're both girls. You know what I mean? So when you play into this narrative that female friendships are like scary or bad, it plays into this patriarchal stereotype that then justifies, men say, oh, male friendships are so much better than girl friendships. Because in guy friendships, like we're friends when we just look at each other once, like, oh, dude, like, what's up, dab? Okay, like girls don't do that in bathrooms. Or they'll say like, guys don't gossip or betray each other. You're fucking your guy's girl. What are you talking about? Like, men will play this game of like, oh, male relationships are like free drama free, but girl relationships aren't. So that's the stereotype that Irene's title plays into, is like, oh, like girl friendships are like, ugh,
And that's why the Girls brand just doesn't touch it, because real solidarity requires effort. It requires sacrifice. It requires disagreement, telling another woman that she is wrong, holding her accountable, having conversations that aren't fun. The Girls version of feminism skips all of that and jumps straight to the part that feels good and looks good on camera. And it ties it all in a neat little bow and calls it the sisterhood. And I think what just really freaking pisses me off is like women who use the term girls girl most are the quickest to freaking turn and tear another girl apart. Like, I don't know if you guys share this experience, but I feel like a lot of people I know that use the term girls girl unironically, they will say all these things like, oh my God, this girl's so nice because she shared me her lip gloss. Oh my gosh, she looks so pretty. And then immediately turn and say the most hateful, gossip-filled thing about another woman. Make it make sense, guys. Make freaking sense. The girls girl versus pick me binary is not new. It's just the latest version of a game that sorts women into good and bad based on how
Yeah, Discord said you shouldn't be required to be kind because you're a woman, but you should be kind regardless of who you are. Exactly. Kindness, guys, is not niceness. Women are not trained to be kind. Women are trained to be nice. Women are not trained to be kind. Kind to me is a philosophical, like deep spiritual activity. It is like an action rooted in like deep humanization of a person, or Like, niceness is a script that women are trained to be in patriarchy, but kindness is something so much deeper. To me, at least, that's how I use the words. So yeah, like, we're trained to keep our mouths shut, to not say things that upset people, but that's not kindness. Because often women are also trained not to say something about victims, not to stand up for victims out of niceness. But the kind thing to do is advocate. So yeah, I think the issue might be also the word use here.
Well, they perform the version of femininity that the internet society has decided for them. The rules change every decade. In the 2000s, you're supposed to be the cool girl, chill, low maintenance, one of the guys. In 2010, you're supposed to be the girl boss, ambitious, leaning in, having it all. And in 2020, you're now supposed to be the girl's girl, warm, generous, endlessly supportive, and never difficult.
Wait, why'd she say 2020? This video came out in 2026.
2020, you're now supposed to be the...
We're 6 years in, girl.
Girl's girl. Warm, generous, endlessly supportive, and never difficult. But the underlying structure is exactly the same. There is a right way to be a woman.
Okay, let me give you an example. Because Chad said the boots are not a life and death. Okay, she wanted to not share. Okay, do you think you should flip people off in traffic? What do you guys think about road rage? Because I think it is philosophically evil to flip people off in traffic. I've done it, but it's wrong. I think it adds to more negativity and more, it's an escalation. So this girl, in my opinion, with the boots escalated. And I'm saying all forms of escalation, are potentially philosophically evil. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't allow it doesn't allow for people, because we're animals. So it's like growling at each other. We're basically growling at each other. And I'm saying, like, why are you growling at me, girl? She basically went up to somebody and the girl went, and she was like, what the fuck? And I'm saying, why are you hissing at her? And it's like, well, she basically hissed at her. That's how I see it,
Woman. And if you deviate from it, other women will let you know. Honestly, the most radical thing that girls, women, feminism could do right now is just to let women be. Let them be generous or guarded. Let them not share your freaking cowboy boots. Let them be warmed or reserved without...
This is an individualistic perspective, though. Like, at the end of the day, this only works if you're only thinking about yourself. Yes, when you're alone in your house, let me be. But when you enter the world, you're now not just you. You are a community member. And that's what I'm saying. When I leave the house, it's not about what Brittany wants. It's about what's good for everybody around me within reason. When I'm alone in my house, my sacred space, don't tell me shit. You can't tell me nothing. Okay? But the moment we enter public spaces, it feels like, yeah, and that's why I'm like shocked at sometimes the way people act in public, because I'm like, hello, this is a shared space. You know what I mean? And yes, it culturally changes from bubble to bubble, but it is amazing to me that people can't understand it. And I'm not saying this from like a white supremacist lens, because I know white people love to weaponize oh, you're not acting proper in public. That's not what we're saying here. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, give it an opportunity. I would like to do the right thing as many times as I can in this situation.
Turning every one of their personality traits into something that dictates how supportive they are to the gender. I feel like I've been thinking about this topic for a really long time, and I've never really had the right words to articulate it. And honestly, I'm really open to conversation. Maybe I'm completely off about this. Maybe girl's girl is a really good thing for feminism and a really good thing for women, and we should hold more women to this standard. But I feel like this term has just always made me uncomfortable. I just hate how women use it to essentially police other women. I think there definitely can be a balance here. Or honestly, maybe I just hate the way that the internet uses it. Girl's girl, it just, And yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think about girl's girl in the comments below.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to a lot of her observations. I think they're kind of superficial, and I think they're also a reaction to, instead of actually getting to the root of it. But I don't disagree with a lot of what she said, okay? I just think it's not as let's see, I just want to be myself. The internet warps everything to the extreme. What does that mean to be yourself? So now we say, okay, I just want to be who I am. But who is that? Who are you? Do you know? Have you deconstructed? Have you unlearned all of the behavior you've been taught? What does that mean? Because if you're going through a stage of rebellion where you're like, I'm not going to smile because men tell me to smile, that's not who you are either. You're only doing that because you're reacting to patriarchy. The question is, who are you if patriarchy didn't have a say? I'm usually a kind and sweet and nice person. When I'm not trying to act tough, yeah, I'm actually kind of really fun to be around. Of course, there are moments too where I don't even emote unless I'm, interacted with. And sometimes I just look like I'm always sad or bitchy, but I'm actually just not. That's just also who I am. Right. And when I'm interacting with it, I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? And then when I'm not, I'm like, but both are me, right? So I'm just saying, like, you don't even know who you are yet, but this is a part of learning who you are. So I love that she's on that journey. I can tell she's definitely there, right? She's figuring it out. I hate how normalized forced and fake compliments have become. It's not become, always has been, right? Never, it hasn't become, always has been. Okay, that's always been a thing. It's not new, just new to you, right? And it was always wrong, okay? But it's a part of, okay. I always define girl as someone who sticks up for other women, looks out for other women, doesn't gossip or talk shit about other women. Okay, this is bullshit, right? You can't say that. But I'm not on TikTok, so it seems, okay, that is not true. That's not what being a girl's girl is. Being a girl's girl is not letting women get away with bullshit. Being a girl's girl is actually reaching out to women and saying, hey, I like you, but I feel like this is a mistake. You guys were girls when you came to me in my chat and said, Brittany, why the fuck are you collabing with Destiny? You were being a girl's girl. And I said, what's the problem? Am I missing something? And then it took me way too fucking long to realize what you guys were trying to say, but you were being a girl's girl in that moment. Now I could sit there and say, don't tell me what to do. I can collab with whoever. Women are always in my business. Women are always trying to keep me from collabing with who I want to collab with. But no, you were being a girl's girl. You were like, no, run away. Okay, run away. And this is what sucks when we don't consider women, not all women, but women in general, what they're saying, because you think these girls are trying to come at you. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying be careful about your desire to, quote, not be a girl's girl, because you're once again trying to find, individuality and patriarchy instead of community effort. You know what I mean? Right? Okay, any thoughts on this? Let me see it. Let me look at. I also think, I think here's the problem, right? Because I don't know what this means. I got a call to pick me by my friend for laughing too loud. Mind you, we were at a friend's house and no guy was around. I would just say that I think the dilemma here is like a lot of people are too young and they haven't read enough / know enough. And I don't blame them, because how many people on TikTok, like that person who came to my chat yesterday and said like, oh, could you explain to me how it's misogyny? And I'm like, I guess. Yeah, I can't. There are no stupid questions if it's genuine. And also, like, damn, like it's crazy to have to go back and be like, okay, so this is why we don't comment on women's tits. Because it almost feels like you're being trolled, because we have this idea that people should just know better. But people are all, they're all coming to their own, they're all coming and figuring out at their own, you know what I mean? Okay. So again, a lot of these girls could be 15. They could be 13 years old in this chat. We don't know how old they are. Are you 13 or 45? Somebody said that I saw a TikTok that was like me realizing I was fighting with a 14-year-old this last week. I'm embarrassed. I'm sorry. I don't know who in my comment section isn't 14. So this could be a 14-year-old person talking right now. And I'm sitting there trying to critique them like they're 45. And this is why I say, well, how old are you? Hold on. How old are you? You know what I mean? Because it changes things. It really does, right? Chaz says, my problem is when the internet says I support both women's right and wrong. Why the fuck would I support someone's wrong? I'll never support someone's wrong either. Look, this is why I say to you, like, that woman who hates me, that Destiny was abusing, who said, oh, Brittany's fibromyalgia, like, that's not even real. She said horrible things about me. I'm not defending her character. I'm defending the misogyny thrown at her. I'm saying you can't be misogynistic toward this woman because she's a bad person. I'm saying you're not allowed to be racist towards a person because they're bad. I'm saying regardless of how you feel about them as a person, you don't get to weaponize cruel behavior and call it justice. Okay? That's what I'm saying. And so, yeah, like I will be a girl's girl against patriarchy. I will always support women against misogyny. I don't support the character of this woman. Right? So Ashley St. Clair, I don't support Ashley St. Clair as her character. I'm supporting, because I don't know her like that, but I will support her against the misogyny and sexism thrown at her. And so again, it's not blindly, it's not like, oh, I'm a girl's girl, I'll never criticize a woman. It's more like, I will criticize a woman, but not on behalf of a man or patriarchy. Because these are two separate things, Listen to this chatter in chat, because sometimes I get these chatters who I think have good intentions. Guys, you're writing weird, right? Like, why are you writing so weirdly? Okay? Like, the way you type it's just like, it's not a language I understand. And so I don't know if you're a troll. And I know a lot of people do this. Like, guys, with peace and love, if you capitalize every word of your sentence, I'm never replying to you. If you type in my chat and you capitalize every first letter of a sentence, I'm not talking to you. I'm not engaging with you. You're trying too hard to either be special or you're trying too hard to not read the room. It's weird and it signals unsafety. Like, it's too weird. Okay? So like, don't do that. Like, think about the way you're conveying. Okay? Because I can't read the room any more than you can read it because I don't know what's going on. So I you know what I mean? I'm not interacting with certain people in chat, and then I don't even know what to do here. Should I have even said anything? But like, I want you to know that when you try too hard to be special, you know what I'm saying? It feels weird. Like, that's the Tyler catastrophe problem. You're trying way too hard to stand out. See, you're doing it again. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna block you because I don't know what's going on. So with peace and love. Now I will say, you know, that even though you have good your good intentions, right? I just want to let you know, see, now, am I being kind? Am I being rude? I'm just trying to say, I don't know what to do with it, right? But most of the time people are fine. You know what I mean? Just FYI, most people are fine. It's just sometimes like people write in a way that I'm like, is this a person? What am I supposed to say to this? You know? Did you just misspell dyslexic while telling us you're dyslexic? Now that, me trying to spell dyslexic, I can't spell dyslexic to save my life. Okay, if my family's life was on the line, they'd all be dead. I would be dead, okay, in the ground, right? But yeah, I will say, and I think this is important, sometimes people will ask me though, like, why is this sexism and this isn't sexism? That is a good question to ask. It could always all be sexism, but the levels of which might not be. So again, when we ask ourselves these questions, it's all about like, diving deep into it. You know what I mean? So I feel bad. I say like to the woman who gatekeeps the shoes, like if you're doing it for ego reasons, like I do think that's wrong. I also think like she can't. Okay, example. Who's inviting the Boots girl to the party? That's the question. Who's inviting her? Who thinks, oh, she sounds like a cool girl to hang out with? Okay, not me. She's not invited. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you want to be the girly that like people say like don't invite her? She's literally so mean. Now, I'm not saying be nice to be invited, right? That's not what I'm saying either. But I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, why do you want your reputation to be the girly who's snobby? And yeah, and her boyfriend who starts fights with her in public. Exactly. I don't want that toxic relationship dynamic in my party. Right? This goes back to the Tourette's conversation we had a while back with that guy who did the Tourette's tick and didn't properly apologize. Like, he can't come. He can't hang out. Not because he has Tourette's, but because he doesn't know how to apologize to marginalized people. So if I invite him to my party and he ticks and doesn't know how to apologize to them, it's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying until you're at a certain threshold, like I'm not going to invite my centrist. I don't have any. But if I had a centristy, like, Republicans and Republicans and leftists are all the same, or like, you know, I might like be like, I don't know. Or like if I had like a libertarian friend, I don't know why I would have one, but if I did, I'm not going to invite them to the hangout with the hardcore leftists. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to invite you. So it kind of is that feeling of like, you know, I had one of my friends was like, oh, I'd love to hang out with this friend of yours. And I was like, no. And she was like, understood. Literally like that. I was like, no. And she was like, understood. And I think it's because we respect and we know, my closest friends know, I am friends with them. They are not friends with my friends because I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get along. Not because you have different political values. It's because of the energy that you are. It's like mixing food on a plate. All of our food gets separated, you know? And I love that. Or my friend, that same friend was like, hey, do you want to be friends with my friend? And I was like, no. And she was like, heard. And I was like, this is a level of consent that is so deeply understood as your friend is probably a lovely person. I don't want to be friends with them. Because you as a consciousness are so unique and special. We are friends. we are connected. I don't have that with your friend. But that doesn't mean your friend's not a good person. It doesn't mean if I have a huge, huge get together, maybe all of our friends can come. But if it's a small, you know what I'm saying? And that is mostly too a big part of my probably autistic expression is that like, but when I was a little girl, that was my dream. When I was a little girl, I dreamt of mixing all my friend groups. I wanted us to all lay in cuddle puddles. Like, guys, I have friends that will never be naked in public, and I have friends that all sleep naked together. I can't get those friends together. You know what I mean? How am I going to get those friends in the same room? You know, there are friends that when I see them, I kiss and cuddle them. And there are friends when I see them that, you know, it's not, how am I going to bring those people together? And it's because I am multifaceted. I have all these multifaceted friends, like totally different friend groups. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't bring, one time I brought my sister to like a BDSM hangout. And she showed up and she's definitely, this is not her world. And I was like introducing her to all my friends. And she said, she was like, your friends feel like the people in high school who maybe wore tails, but then grew up and went into tech and now they make a lot of money. And I was like, listen, Linda. Okay. And that is not my sister. My sister is not that girly. And she was like, She was nice and she got along with everybody, but it was pretty funny. So even my own sister, she does not have the same kind of friends I have. You know what I mean? We have different kinds of friends. She has tabletop friends and I have get naked and spank each other friends. But I never wore a tail in high school. And not that I'm shaming girlies for doing it, but I never wore a tail in high school. I wore one in my 20s, but only because it was also a butt plug. And that was that wasn't for fashion. Okay. That was for a statement. Okay. Listen. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. It's a whole other world. Okay. Anyways. This is my culture. Do not make fun of me. If you make fun of me, you are making fun of my culture. Okay. This is my culture. Anyways. Okay, that's the end of stream. We're ending on a butt plug joke, okay? We're going to end on a butt plug joke. I do not want to see this weaponized by misogynists on the internet, okay? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. Hey, guys, have a good weekend. I didn't even realize, by the way, that it was Friday. I literally thought today was Thursday, so I'm kind of bummed. I felt like I really wanted to see you guys again yesterday, but that's okay. I will see the Discord tomorrow. We're starting our deconstruction journey of Korra, so if you guys are interested in philosophically discussing Korra, you can come join us. Otherwise, and we have yoga tomorrow, too. Professionally taught yoga tomorrow, 30-minute class. All levels of yogi, just like be chill with it, you know, don't pressure yourself, right? But come join us if you want. 18 plus, because we don't want children in the Discord. Creepy. With that said, enjoy your weekend, be safe, treat yourself with kindness. And yes, Korra the Avatar. Lots to talk about. Politics, misogyny, patriarchy. Like that show is full of themes, you know? Oh, and happy Pride Month. Wait, I'll be back Monday for Pride. Monday, right? June 1st. I'll be back for the beginning of Pride Month, girls. Let's go. I'll be back. I can't believe it, you know? We'll be back, okay? See you guys then. Have a good weekend, okay? Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.